What is going on, everybody? It is episode 244 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. You said that weirdly slowly. I was like, are you preparing for something?
What I'm doing is I'm slowing down the vibe for today.
That's okay. Guys, it's going to be a little bit more of a casual vibe today. We've got no one to impress. It is a day with just Brett and Mary.
A day with Brett and Mary.
Just us. Just us and the chat.
Yep.
That's what you asked for yesterday, so we're giving it to you.
So it's a casual Friday. I literally kicked off my shoes.
But I gotta be honest, it's actually because Ian is not feeling well, and we were planning to have him as a guest. So wish him recovery.
A very happy recovery. Hopefully he's good for IRL tonight, because he just woke up wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, I don't know what's up.
So,
but yeah, pray for his recovery, guys.
Pray like this. Mm-hmm. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about Rachel Zegler and the continued, the inability to just, I've kind of come back to this term that I don't think the term remake means what they think it means. That's kind of the conclusion that I've drawn. But she has her comments about the modern interpretation of Snow White. We will get into that. We'll get into her comments. I want to contrast that with something that I'm going to talk about at the start of this episode. We're also going to talk about Martin Scorsese and his comments at the New York Film Festival, in which he's discussing kind of Hollywood's obsession with box office, which I have a little bit of pushback on. You know, legend as he is, I do wonder if he's getting a little bit disconnected from what the business side of it actually is. And then we've got Kanye, Candace Owens. We've got some updated stuff related to the story that we had yesterday. Of course, the news cycle is not 24 hours anymore. The news cycle is hourly. So we're going to do that. We're going to do Podluck. We're going to do a bunch of other stuff. So, Mary, are we ready?
I'm ready, but I have some things that I need to address from the chat before we begin.
Go for it.
Halls and the kids said they never asked to have me on. Well, if you want to come on, then please say so, because that would need to be planned ahead. We would love to have you. And someone else said they just peed their pants because Ian's not here.
That is very sad.
Because no Ian, we pee in actually was a threat, not a joke.
Yeah, it's not a threat, it's a promise.
And then another person, before we started, asked when Serge is going to be on. So we'd love to have Serge too. It's just that he comes later in the day than we usually start, so we'd need to plan that ahead too.
And I had seen that he talks some on IRL, so he's like, some people don't necessarily want to be in front of the camera, but if he does, we'll talk to him. We'll him.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of people. Like I had a lot of fun having Rusty here yesterday when we had Chris and Andrew on. So we will be filling that schedule out with new faces as often as we can.
There are people that work here behind the camera that you just don't know exist. I guess it's kind of funny.
So before we get started, what I want to do is I want to draw attention to this, and it kind of goes and it folds into the first story, and that's that I wanted to address the passing of Robbie Coltrane, who passed away at the age of 72, I believe today or yesterday. Mm-hmm. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is it kind of hit me. I recently, on one of our episodes, I pointed out that, and I didn't make my point very well, that I get this certain sense of thank you guys.
Thank you.
I get a certain sense of discomfort whenever one of these older actors passes away, because I see how the younger actors behave. I see the way
we were just talking about Tom Felton yesterday.
Yes. And that's why
in comparison to Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe.
But I believe that Tom Felton is the exception and not the rule. But the other thing is that Robbie Coltrane was one of those people, along with Ray Fiennes, who refused to speak ill of J.K. Rowling, and she was back in the news today. Did you see this thing from?
Yeah, I saw. I look at my royalty checks,
yes,
and the pain that people don't like me anymore.
The absolute
fades away.
The absolute pain. Like I can appreciate it. Yeah, she says I read most of my most recent royalty checks in there in the UK, so they spelled checks with a Q.
Yeah, that's funny. But it's like at some point you have so much money that adding more to your hoard of money doesn't really feel like anything anymore.
And for
but
me,
it is funny that she's still able to have a sense of humor about it.
a lot of people know Robbie Coltrane from the Harry Potter movies. Obviously, he played Hagrid. I just remember him very fondly from 2 of the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies. He plays a guy named Valentin Sikovsky, who is kind of like Bond shot him in the past, and they have like this kind of mutually beneficial, if tense, relationship that I really like. And he has a really funny line at the beginning of the movie, because remember, this is like right after the fall of the Soviet Union, where he's like going through his bar. It's not a strip club. It's like a place where like someone's performing, and like he zips up this model or lady's like pants on the side and goes, "Free market economy is going to be the end of me," which I always to this day I still get a huge kick out of. So rest in peace to Robbie Coltrane. And it really does to me, like whenever one of these celebrities that had a little bit more statesmanship, had a little bit more gravitas, I kind of get sad, because I look at the way someone like Rachel Zegler talks, and it bums me out.
On statesmanship, we've also praised Margot Robbie for her ability to be graceful in the public eye and know when not to speak up.
Yeah, and I think that's becoming
when
a
not
dying
to
art.
Use your platform for good, if you will.
I think that's a dying art, to be completely honest. So this is from Bounding Into Comics, and it says that Rachel Zegler says she's bringing a modern edge to Disney's live-action Snow White. She's not going to be saved by the prince or dreaming about true love. I take issue with that right off the bat, because they frame it as if those are like lesser things to want to do. Like, okay, saved by the prince, yeah, but like not wanting to find true love.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
Rachel Zegler, from the beginning of getting tapped for this role, she's had a really positive attitude about it. I understand that, like, she's likable. People like her from West Side Story.
She's the opposite of likable.
I understand. Okay, but I understand from the perspective of her fans why they like her. She seems like a spunky new voice. Whatever. That's not really what I'm concerned with, but it feels like she's been told to make certain comments about what Snow White means for the young people of today, and how she's going to reinterpret the character in her portrayal of it. And I watched her interview at D23, and she was with Gal Gadot both times, who I feel is like the literal evil queen whispering in her ear, telling her what to say. Gal Gadot is like adding her own 2 cents every time that she comments on the character. So Zegler said at D23, the reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. When we came to reimagining the role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power.
Then I have a question. Why does every story have to be that now? Why does every story have to interpret modern sensibilities? Why does a story not have the right to just be what it classically was? If it's going to be what you're calling it, a remake, then you're remaking something from a different time. I'm fine, but with the idea of you making a remake that I'm never going to want to go see or support. But maybe we should have a new term for it. Like, you're not remaking. I'm sick of the term reimagining. You're just changing it. It's not what it was.
The comments on this interview were resoundingly countering what she was saying. So they were saying, why not just write a totally new story instead of twisting the meaning of this old one? Now, I've mentioned before in the context of The Little Mermaid that Disney has twisted the meaning of these original stories for decades. Yeah. They come from folk tales that are very gritty. They have the vibe of like, Grimm's fables, like dark themes, things that kids actually enjoy because kids are the most familiar with like feeling helpless and lost in the world compared to adults, right?
And fairy tales were designed to help kids grapple with that fear.
Yeah, and these fairy tales had dark themes that have been systematically filtered out of them over time by Disney primarily. Yeah. And it was before wokeness was a thing. I would say storytelling has been going downhill since before Rachel Zegler came onto the scene. So I don't see it as totally like her fault that this movie might have like woke overtures.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would blame Disney as a whole before Rachel Zegler.
Well, and yeah, she takes the role. She does what they ask of them. I want to know why we're so focused on reimagine. Why not just imagine something entirely different?
I mean,
I mean, we know the answer.
we know the answer.
It's not viable. They can't sell it.
Yeah, they don't have the creativity anymore. That's just a fact. Like they are throwing people into a pipeline. We were talking about Warner Brothers yesterday, that they have this bloated diversity, equity, inclusion ring that has people in a pipeline of mentorship up to being executive producers on something like Rings of Power. That doesn't happen accidentally.
Yeah.
Things are mediocre right now because mediocre people are getting held on pedestals and are way overpowered in creating these shows and movies.
Do you think that they could do a moratorium on promoting these movies with identity politics?
How would that be enforced? What do you mean? You think the market would enforce that, or would
No, I'm saying that should the companies be putting
ever?
like I was watching a thing that I believe it was Chris Gore from Film Threat did a thing when they were talking about fan baiting, and he talks about how he's like the first thing he would do if he was making a movie now is take away he's like, give me your social media logins. You're not allowed, because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it without.
I remember the first thing Rachel Zegler tweeted after she was tapped for this role was, yes, I'm Snow White. No, I'm not bleaching my skin for the role. And it's like, whoa, like, who asked you to do that? Who even mentioned something like that? Did people even comment on the fact that Snow White got race swapped with you getting the role?
Because she has to make sure that it's known even before it actually gets brought up.
She preempted the hate before it even showed up. Yeah. And in doing so, kind of was rage baiting people by tweeting something like that, and then she quickly deleted it afterwards. But it was always about her and inserting herself and her immutable characteristics and her personality and values into this story.
And I don't think this has any the product being this way might be on Disney, but I don't believe for a second that this doesn't reflect her values and what she believes in the world. That's why it bugs me so much to see older celebrities, older stars passing away, people who had a little bit more understanding that to promote these movies, you need to include everyone and not make it about identity politics.
Well,
maybe partially because they were from a different time where that wasn't seen as a valuable skill set, partially because the younger generation has just been inundated with those messages constantly.
Am I correct that Gal Gadot was one of the celebrities that you praised for having statesmanship?
And that's what I didn't like about...
I have to add what she said in this very same interview that Bounding Into Comics left out. She said, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince and she's the proactive one and she's the one who sets the terms is what makes this so relevant to where we are today.
I hate it.
She made another similar comment when they were on the carpet for D23. She was like, she's not going to be saved by the prince.
Which is weird because in the past she had been
her
better.
Own savior.
In the past when she had been doing Wonder Woman marketing, promotion for Wonder Woman, she didn't take that same tone, at least not that I recall in the stuff that I was watching.
Is it just that she's not the protagonist in this situation that gives her less pressure and spotlight?
Yeah, maybe.
She can let her real opinions out.
Maybe she's just what in Hollywood's modern belief system would tell you that her real beliefs wouldn't be allowed from them. I mean, I think that if those are her real beliefs, everything Hollywood pushes would have been just fine by them for her to promote that way. So no, I think that maybe she just
is it strategic for her when
it would be cool if she was just it would be cool if she was just being really, really in character and just decided to play the evil queen outside of the movie as well.
Well, it literally feels like that because she's standing there about a foot taller than Rachel Zegler.
Yeah.
Looking like, and dressed in all black, looking like she's whispering in her ear, you have to say this about what Snow White is doing for young girls across the nation.
Yeah. Does this
how
work on
she's
you?
such a girl boss compared to the 1937 version.
Does this work on you? Does this let me rephrase it. I know that I know you, so I know that this isn't going to be the same. Do you see this as marketing that works on a younger generation? Because I do. I see when these things are said by younger people, I buy it a hell of a lot more than when I hear it said by people that are closer to, Gal Gadot's age.
I don't know if the goal in Rachel Zegler speaking out like this is for young people to feel it resonates with them. I think if this is for the older generations to see and feel good about themselves, pat themselves on the back for propping up a younger person who touts these beliefs.
Boomers.
But
it's all the boomers' fault.
The angle with influencing the youth here is that they want young people today, like Gen Alpha especially, to not remember any iteration of Snow White except for Rachel Zegler. They don't want them to remember the 1937 version. Firstly, because it is scary.
Yeah.
Rachel Zegler also was quoted saying that this cartoon scared her as a child. Yeah. And that's how a lot of cartoons were, actually. And not just Disney princess movies. Like Tom and Jerry included. Yeah. Roadrunner included. Cartoons were extremely violent and hilarious and full of death and destruction and fear as well. Like, I think they had a lot more complex themes than they do today. Yeah. And this is just another effort to water them down.
With belief systems that are so modern and so generic and so
I mean, not even just belief systems, but they're just hollowing it out.
Yeah.
Of any depth that it used to have. Because I know it held on to some of its meaning when Disney originally adapted it into a cartoon. It was the first time they ever did something of that scale. The first folktale they took and made into a full-length movie.
Yeah.
And that was revolutionary, but they did water down the folktale at the time. And now they're watering it down again.
Yeah. Did you see the stuff that she had said about in fact I'll read it, the stuff that she had said originally when they were marketing for West Side Story, when basically when Steven Spielberg did the ultimate virtue signal and said, we're gonna not put Spanish American subtitles on the Spanish parts so that you don't know what the hell they're saying, which is hilarious because it automatically assigns a type of hatred to the people, like as if they didn't learn Spanish and then expect you to speak English to them in this role, when really it's people who are going out to listen to a multilingual project and want to be able to know what's going on. I think that's indicative of the adversarial nature between Hollywood creators and the people that they see as their enemy, but also the people that buy their products. And what she said initially says it's about so it says, asked about the film's red carpet, why Spielberg the story lacks subtitles for Spanish-speaking scenes, the actress said, it's respect. She repeated, dismissing any fears of potentially alienating audiences who did not speak the language. She says, quote, it's a respect for my upbringing in a Spanish-speaking household. It is a respect for the fact that this nation does not have an official language. They are always and forever hyper-antagonistic towards the people that give them money. And to me, there's nothing wrong with just staying quiet. And you don't always need to antagonize. It's not getting people to go to the movies. Nobody went and saw West Side Story. That movie lost $100 million.
But with a star like Rachel Zegler, who is just gaining relevance and notoriety, you have to wonder whether these are her genuine beliefs.
I do.
She's a younger age. She comes from a different generation. She's been on TikTok. I think she has a distorted view of what audiences want right now.
Yeah.
And she's trying to cater to that. And she gets a lot of fulfillment out of feeling like she is the enlightened person in
That's
Hollywood.
what it is. There's a lot of hubris in thinking that you're that you know it all and that you're the evolved and sophisticated one.
Yeah, when you have the awakened opinions about all of these different social issues, you have to acknowledge that like part of your ego is wrapped up in that.
Johnny Derp says Snow White and the Seven Dwarves is ableist. She had all those pint-sized men. Why would she need Prince Charming? Well, there is no dwarves in the new movie. There's just 7 magical creatures that will not be played by dwarves because of what Peter Dinklage said, and then Disney. I heard somewhere that they said that was actually decided beforehand. I could actually see Disney HR preempting like, yeah, we're not going anywhere near that one. Like, but we'll see.
Hobbit also said they have to reimagine things that go against the ideology. If they succeed or fail, the good of the original product is forever tainted by the new. And
they kind of win, like if they are ideologically inclined, they win either way. If it does really, really well, they're like, see, look, ours is better anyways. If it does really badly, they know that it affects the way people see the original, because whether people like it or not, it does. Like a lot of people, it does affect how they feel about a past property when they go back to it. I was watching a lot of the reviews for Halloween Ends, listening to a lot of the reviews for Halloween Ends Day, and they were like, they're just bummed because they just didn't. A lot of people didn't feel like it lived up to the expectations of what it should have been for a franchise that's been going on for like a gazillion years.
I think Jamie Lee Curtis said she watched it on mute. Like,
it's
when you remake something or make a spin-off or reboots, sequels, prequels, whatever derivative content you can imagine, you have to ask what this can add that the original creation did not have.
Yeah.
What does the live action remake of Snow White have that the 1937 animated film doesn't have?
Yeah.
That is valuable for viewers.
Yeah.
If all you've got is a new commentary on the role of women in positions of power, then you've got to come up with something more than that.
Do you think, okay, then I have one more question and then we'll move on. Do you think that there's an actual social impact? I watch a lot of videos spanning a lot of topics online, and I see a lot of things where it's like, channels that border on like the red pill type stuff, and they'll go do on the street interviews with women, and they'll talk about like what's the oldest you'll date a guy if he doesn't have any, like that he can be if he doesn't have any money. They're like 22, 23, 24, then he needs to start being self-sufficient or something like that. What's the oldest you'll date if he does have a lot of money? 49, 59, 60. Has the world changed that much based on the way that they have manipulated the media and the way for people to behave based on gender roles?
You know, another thing I was watching yesterday was a video of a Zoomer girl interviewing other Zoomer girls at a college campus, asking like, how much should a man make if you're going to marry him? And I mean, obviously none of them understand how money works, so they all had drastically different answers.
What were they saying?
Some of them were saying like 1 or 2 million, and then other ones were saying like 100K. Other ones were saying 60, 80K. I mean, it was all over the ballpark, but I think that's because they don't understand money, or like how much things cost, because living on a college campus is intentionally shielding yourself from the conditions that other adults have to live through before you fully enter the adult world.
Yeah.
But anyway,
do you think this is actually making a difference? Is it changing women to be more independent? I would make the argument that just the fact that that the economy requires everyone to work now has already done more to motivate women to want to work anyways.
Out of fear, though.
Yeah.
It's not a motivation of like self-actualization or wanting to help people or whatever.
How many
I think
women
even I'm kind of like going off the rails here, but like a woman who is supported by a breadwinner in her household is a lot more free to take risks with her career than a woman who has nothing to fall back on.
That's a big thing in like in the comic book industry. Is there's a lot of women that are like that do a lot of work, and then you find out that they're like because the comic industry doesn't pay that well, that they have husbands that that make good money, that allow for them to have that career that doesn't really pay very
when
well.
women do groundbreaking things or reach these milestones, what have you, it's often because someone they are supported by a man in their household who is able to like cushion that blow if a risk doesn't work out. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that like watching a movie that reimagines the meaning of Snow White is any reason that women are behaving differently these days or are feeling more likely to be independent, take risks, or pursue a career.
I'm picturing like a bunch of like 18 to 20 somethings leaving Snow White, like, never mind, I don't want to get married and have kids. I'm going to go save myself from my bad career that I'm going to choose to have.
For the 18 to 20-year-olds, it's about subverting the version of Snow White that they were originally introduced to. But then for the literal children who are about to see this movie and who are allowed to see The Little Mermaid, it's so that will be the only iteration that they ever see or ever are introduced to. And
so it's on the parents.
They'll be left wondering what was missing later on.
So it'll be actually then that's just more responsibility on the parents to introduce them to other versions that actually encapsulate different values. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Let's go to Super Chats.
Bad App said, "Where's my invite?"
Bad App. I sent it in the mail. Snail mail is very, very. It's
inefficient. Yeah, it might have gotten lost.
I got mailed something through certified mail last week, and it took so long, like over a full week.
Sorry about that.
To get there, yes.
Caper2X said she's not going to read that Bad App. Well, I read it.
She read it.
So.
We're subverting expectations today.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Wow, Invisible Ian is so lit today. JK, hope he feels better."
Also, I'm going to point out that there probably will be a time in which I hit the wrong button and you see an empty chair. We should have put Biden Bear.
Oh,
we should have put Biden
it's
Bear
too late
over
now.
there.
He's not Biden Bear.
Why
Mr.
not?
Fluffykins.
I mean, if you look at him now, he's definitely looks like he's sniffing your hair. Yeah.
Rascal King said, "The Rascal King wonders, too much graphene?"
I've heard that is a hell of a drug. Too much graphene.
Yeah. That can ravage your body. Tacty Platty said, "Platty says the Bad App shirts are fire. That is all."
They are fire.
That is all has been
if we have merch
proliferating in the chat lately. I don't know why.
Merch should really say that is all.
That is all.
That is all.
Carnell said, "Remake, reboot, reimagined, and ruined."
They're like, what somebody should do is make like a purposely bad, like, kind of like the subversive, like they're making Winnie the Pooh, but they're making it violent. Like somebody should make a purposely bad remake that they mean to be bad. That was a long one. Like, and just be like, we're gonna ruin this story, and then it ends up actually being good by accident.
I mean, thankfully for me, I was not allowed to watch any of the Disney princess movies, so when they're ruined, I am not invested in them.
You feel no. See, it's going to be a long time before a lot of the stuff that a lot of the TV shows that I loved from the mid 2000s will eventually get their remakes, and then I will have a field day with a vein throbbing in my neck as I'm like, this was not what it's supposed to be like, and then we'll eventually get that.
Yeah.
I remember there was a funny reaction when a bunch of it was like Mary Sue reporters or something who were like, why are they remaking Buffy and why would they race swap Buffy? That makes no sense. And then you look back at those same people's articles from like a year before. They're like, why do you care if they change what this person looks like? What are you, a racist? Like they're very, very, it's either cognitive dissonance or they're just that blind to their own, what was the term for? Yeah.
It's always like, why do you care?
Yeah.
At the people who don't care. The people changing the race of a character who is historically white are the ones who care about the race of the character.
Yeah.
It's such projection.
And they're saying why do you care to people who care for a different reason? They care because it's a universal truth that people want things to be the way they remembered it when it was originally created.
Well,
in fact, I would argue that the people who are now watching what they're doing to like Rings of Power, like the people that support it and love the original, that is a very, very small sector of people that are both hardcore fans of the original and are completely okay with you taking complete liberties with the source material, right? So those people are either not initiated to the nefarious reasons why this stuff happens, or they're just that big a fan, I guess. But I would argue that that's a much smaller sect than people who are very big fans of the original and want it to be the way they remember it because it meant something to them the way it was.
Yeah, I was talking yesterday about how the Velma trailer was referencing these fans.
Yeah.
And they are purportedly saying, I want things to be the same forever and you can't change anything. But like, that's presupposing that they wanted a remake or reboot in the first place where you just rehash everything. Yeah. They didn't ask for a remake or a reboot.
And let's be fair, like there's also there's people who got mad when they made The Force Awakens basically a shot-for-shot remake of A New Hope, right? So you can't really it's a very tricky jungle to try and make it through, to both remake something. Obviously that's not a remake, but I'm saying that they're telling the same story essentially. Mm-hmm. Like when you have this source material that has all these fans to it, it's a very, very risky business to try and do so when new stories always get more leeway. They always get more leeway when you tell a new story. Like, we go see movies that are objectively meh, and I'm like, well, at least it wasn't a remake.
Like Amsterdam?
Yeah, like, a lot of people hated Amsterdam. I thought it was...
Like Avatar?
I hated the third act, but in general...
That's how it feels with Avatar.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't get started on that. People don't like those.
We made you angry when we talked about Avatar and said we didn't understand the appeal of it.
We'll see. We'll see the new one when it comes out. We'll review it, and then
we will.
And we are going to review Black Adam, which I'm sure everybody will be very excited about. Mary's very excited about watching Black Adam. Which
no, it might be good.
I love The Rock. When he was The Rock in WWF. As a movie star,
when he had hair,
as I liked him oddly enough in the G.I. Joe movies, which are objectively bad movies.
Everyone in the chat is like, what movies?
Well, they're like, they know they're bad, but they're bad in a fun way. That's Adrian Padalecki, bad in a fun way, and I miss bad in a fun way. Also, that's another one you can basically say goodbye to, that you will never get in modern Hollywood a good G.I. Joe remake. As we learned when they made Snake Eyes, which got such bad reviews, I wouldn't even go see it. I was like, let me guess, he doesn't put the helmet on until the end of the show, or until the end of the movie. Of course he doesn't. Of course they race swap Snake Eyes. But G.I. Joe, a real American hero, do you really think that Hollywood is going to go out of their way to make something called a real American hero good?
Well, not unless Tom Cruise makes it.
Maybe, oh my God, that's what we need. Tom Cruise to fund a good G.I. Joe movie. And you know what? Have Taylor Sheridan write and direct it. That's what we need.
We'll see if that happens.
Yes.
Hobbit said, regardless of my hate for Rings of Power, it's now canon to the modern story of Lord of the Rings because of who owns the rights. Yep. Fecal matter is now canon.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later. We watched the season finale.
Yes.
It was disappointing, obviously. Marcos said, off topic, but does the thumbs up offend you? Or like button? What is it?
Does the like button offend me?
I don't know what you mean. The thumbs up, like, gesture in general? I don't know what you mean. I guess not. I guess the answer is no.
It does not offend me.
Joe Duraki, a.k.a. Jay Dizzle, said, has anyone ever thought that maybe stories like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty are good for young boys? It teaches them to value women and stand up and protect those who are vulnerable or mistreated.
Maybe in 20 years we'll get Snow White from Prince Charming perspective. No, not really. Probably not ever.
I mean, they never want to do anything from a male perspective.
Not in any way that speaks to men being not complete imbeciles, evil. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, Rings of Power, further proof that you're only competent if you're evil, if you're a guy. Am I right? Tell me I'm wrong.
We'll talk about it later.
Yes, we'll
talk about it later. Nate Parrott said, I want to see you guys on FNT. I'm going to shout you guys out tonight. Hail the Fellowship. What is FNT?
Friday Night Tights. A lot of really, really good YouTubers that cover a lot of the same stuff, same areas. Like, I've been watching a lot of since I didn't have the courage to watch She-Hulk because I knew that I would throw my TV out a window. I watch a lot of reviews from people from that sphere of the internet who cover it, and it's I'd like to get Ryan Kinnell on here, or I'd love to get Gary on. He was on IRL.
Is Friday Night Tights like a live thing?
It goes on like right after, like, it starts I think at 5 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Is that where we saw Chrissy Mayer?
Yeah. Yep.
Imitating Frost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Chrissy Mayer's great.
Bad App said, "Did Hedwig die with Hagrid carrying my invite?"
Oh, that's very sad.
And then Bad App also added, "Wands up for Hagrid."
Well, I would say what's something Russian? A glass of vodka. Vodka up for Zukovsky.
You know,
from
White
Goldeneye.
Russian is just vodka mixed with milk.
That's disgusting.
2%.
It's disgusting.
Caper
Does the type of milk matter?
Oh, I was just kidding. That's not what's in a
Okay,
White Russian.
I think that's disgusting.
Caper2X said, "Can we discuss She-Hulk season finale? I like it."
I
like it?
I watched the reviews where they have it breaks the fourth wall and enters the Marvel writers' room. It sounded like one of the worst things I've ever heard in my entire life. Caper2X, if you liked it, that is a beautiful thing, because if you liked it, like, seriously, in a world where everything that's made feels awful, I can, so maybe if it's so bad it's good.
If there's anywhere I would want to be less than the MCU, it's the Marvel writers' room.
Yeah, I know, right?
What? Tacti Platy said, "Mary, there is a Gen Z post on some Reddit saying the thumbs up is offensive because it's dismissive and wants it canceled or whatever."
Okay.
What's dismissive about putting your thumb up?
I also want to mention
Wait,
that.
what? Like, the like button is offensive?
Can't do the like button. Can't do the dislike button. Can't do anything.
Wow, this is news to me.
It's news
I'm
to
not
you?
Plugged in with the rest of Gen Z.
All right, I want to move on, and I want to talk about Martin Scorsese, and this is going to be a little bit more nerd centric. So it says,
I mean, he's the nerd.
He is. So it says, and the funny thing is for somebody that I have as much respect for as Scorsese, it's just funny because I agree with some portions of this, I disagree with others, but I will always push back on the kind of the snobbishness of Hollywood. In a way. So it says Martin Scorsese's obsession. Martin Scorsese says obsession over box office is repulsive and insulting.
How about I just read what he said?
Go for it.
And we can talk about it.
Go for it.
He said that cinema is devalued, demeaned, belittled from all sides, not necessarily the business side, but certainly the art. Since the 80s, there's been a focus on numbers. It's kind of repulsive. The cost of a movie is one thing. Understand that a film costs a certain amount. They expect to at least get the amount back, plus again. The emphasis is now on numbers, cost, the opening weekend, how much it made in the USA, how much it made in England, how much it made in Asia, how much it made in the entire world, how many viewers it got. As a filmmaker and as a person who can't imagine life without cinema, I always find it really insulting. I've always known that such considerations have no place at the New York Film Festival. And here's the key also with this. There are no awards here. You don't have to compete. You just have to love cinema here.
Well, the problem is...
And then everyone clapped.
And then everybody
But for
clapped.
real, they actually clapped.
Yes. The problem is that you're in a business where art and commerce coincide. And you don't get to just be an artist with millions of dollars being spent. You are also a capitalist because...
Those are almost all media of art.
Yes. You're not... unless you're footing 110% of that bill... Damn it, I did the 110% thing. Damn it!
No!
And here I was
Everyone
thinking,
is about to drink a shot.
Everyone take a shot. Unless you're footing 110% of that bill... You don't have room to make it just about the art. And
I think Mark Wahlberg would have room to talk about how he really values the art if you put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. Explain that. What do you mean?
Because he really believed in Father Stu and put his own money into the project. Mel Gibson also put his money into that project.
Yeah.
And it wasn't guaranteed to be successful because it's not what is a blockbuster in cinema right now.
And that might be unique to like but maybe the idea here is that has a very sectored audience that they can count on, even if they have faith in the movie. They know that the religious
but is that sector big enough that they can actually make a profit? They did end up making a profit. I don't remember
but
by
I guarantee
how much.
you that movie costs less than what Scorsese is spending on his movies.
Right.
First of all, you can't, it's not about just making your money back. Nobody enters a business to just make your money back. You enter a business to profit because it allows you. Walt Disney had a quote. He said, "We don't make movies to make money. We make money so that we can make more movies." Right. Mm-hmm. So you don't get to just be like, "Oh, here, I made you your money back."
Yeah.
They're not gonna find a reason to make another movie with you unless you make them enough money to make another movie. And just making their money back doesn't do that.
If you have real respect for the craft, which he, is posturing as valuing the craft over anything. And I do believe
that he values the craft.
Yes.
The art of it.
But if you want to live that out, you're going to have to make profitable films, which he does.
Yes.
But, don't forget the importance of that if you want to continue in, offering these movies to the public. You can't do that without making a profit.
And it does
and you can't make them better each time without making a profit. It's interesting that he is contrasting the New York Film Festival with a kind of competition or award show. The award shows are rigged, first of all, anyways.
Yeah.
But he's contrasting this film festival with the competition when actually it is a competition, even though there are no awards, because you're shopping films to production companies.
To buy.
You are shopping films to a Sony or a Universal, whoever wants to buy them, so that you have the money to make them and make them as grandiose and beautiful as you want, and take as long as you need to make them beautiful.
I think he's part of a dying sector of the industry, unfortunately. I look at a movie, first of all, I look at a movie like Amsterdam, which is exactly what he's talking about. It's what he would consider art in a sense, right? It's not a mass marketed, it was mass marketed, but it doesn't have mass appeal towards a large, it's not a Marvel movie, which Scorsese is famously very critical of. And it doesn't have, when we were watching the trailers, it didn't have a story that they could cleanly tell you and hook you on, right? Mm-hmm. So it's part of this auteur sector of the internet or a sector of the filmmaking business that really does belong in theaters, but would do better on streaming because it's not going to get people out to the theater to go see it because you can't do that without big name actors. But even that didn't work here.
I want to read Guillermo
del
Toro's quote about Scorsese's view on cinema. He said, "If God offered to shorten my life to lengthen Scorsese's, I'd take the deal. This man understands cinema, defends cinema, embodies cinema."
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much.
He has always fought for the art of it and against the industry of it. He has never tamed and has a firm place in history. I fundamentally disagree with pitting the industry against the art form.
Yeah.
Because the industry is what makes the art form possible.
And
the art form makes the industry possible. It's a symbiotic relationship. Yep. And the reason that, frankly, these pretentious artists want that dichotomy, they have this false dichotomy in their minds, is because I guess they want to feel like they're fighting a system.
Yeah.
But they're part of the system.
Yeah.
A Scorsese is in charge of the system.
I think to what they taught you, the old trope of the bean counters, the people that dole out the money, they'll put up with a crazy filmmaker because he makes money. Now they want to be the crazy artistic filmmaker. I'm not talking about Scorsese specifically, but Hollywood in general. There's those directors that they want to be the crazy artist, but they don't bring in the money that the crazy artists used to, which why would the bean counters want to put up with you if you're not giving them a return on their investment? It's like they forgot that that's a part of it, right? And which is why people make fun of me for like, I'm like, there's a reason the Fast and the Furious exists. There's a reason franchises like that are a thing, because whether you like it or not, the film business is business first. Actually, these days I'd argue it's message first, business second, art third.
Depends on the group of people.
That's the way it is. And then, so I also wanted to point out that another thing that works against him now is we are working with global audiences. Whereas when Scorsese was making his movies before, uniquely American stories, it would feel like for a lot of movies back then. Now you have to, the studio is not going to let you make a uniquely American movie. You have to make a movie that somehow can appeal to all areas. Does that make sense?
Well, if it can, you plan that it will offend the sensibilities in another country so that you can make a selling point out of the fact that it was banned in like Saudi Arabia or China.
Well, not just that, but
which
also
is
like
phony.
Stories about, or I guess in the past, even then, a story about the Italian mob could capture the imagination of more than just an American audience. I would also point out that there's a problem here with the consolidation of studios, that there's just less places to get your movie out there now, because before you'd have all these different studios. Now Disney buys up everything. Warner Brothers buys up everything.
But before is when? Because the film industry is so young.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to this corrupted place so quickly.
Yeah.
A lot of people are questioning if it's exhausted its value already.
I mean, you could make that argument. You could make that argument that it's lost its value.
I mean, cameras. Yeah. There's a reason a lot of people thought that cameras steal your soul.
Do you believe that?
Maybe. I'm just saying, like, this is such a radically like early industry. Like, it has so much longer to prove its value, and it seems like it's crashed and burned already.
On ideological
because of
grounds.
Those ideological hang-ups. But also just because people in Hollywood have this insulated culture that excuses bad behavior, and they have character flaws that cause them to point the finger at the public who are viewing their products.
I do think that the consolidation of studios, meaning that there's less places from these big studios, from a Disney, from a Warner Brothers, who have consolidated down and bought up all this stuff, that the place to go if you actually want your art to matter would be to go to streaming, where you're going to be able to. Remember, a lot of people would tell the stories like Netflix just gave them a crap ton of money and said, make whatever the hell you want back in the day. Like the Russo brothers said that. So why waste your money on, I guess, was it Scorsese that made The Irishman? I believe Scorsese made The Irishman. But like the idea that like Netflix gives you $250 million and what you come up with is The Gray Man. I'm for it because I love crappy spy movies.
Okay, but The Gray Man wasn't a multi-$100 million worth watch.
No, it wasn't. But I'm saying like the idea that you could, it's like they need to find a sweet spot here, where if you can't release it in theaters, if these genres just don't make that much money in the box office anymore, I'd argue that Top Gun Maverick proves that you can if you do it right. Because even though that is a sequel, thank you
guys.
Like, thank you. Even though that is a sequel, it's still a very good story. The legs are more important than the opening box office anyway. So a good story with good word of mouth will last a hell of a lot longer. But it's just very, very hard to do. And so, thank you.
That's a long one. Mine is, it's like not working.
It's being very
over
temperamental.
Here.
It's being very temperamental today. And then let's face it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Let's face it. People will just take She-Hulk. They will. They'll just take She-Hulk anyways. So they're not incentivized to spend more money on auteur work from famous directors.
There's more money spent on something like Thor: Love and Thunder than on auteur work.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Like, you're shaping, you as a tastemaker, like, you are shaping what people want by giving them something like that.
I think right now, I saw not an advertisement, I saw an article in Variety about another upcoming Western The name of it escapes me. I think we're going to go through a Western renaissance as far as like they're going to try and reimagine the Western genre, and all we've got saving us is Taylor Sheridan and Taylor Sheridan's excellent storytelling. I'm very excited for the Tulsa King, which makes me think more of old school Hollywood because it is about it's about Stallone finally getting to play a mobster, which he's always wanted to do. But like I said, you're not going to find that in a movie theater these days. I think that goes to streaming.
I don't want to fully condemn being ideologically driven. This is like
go on,
not a good thing to say on Pop Culture Crisis, is it?
Go for
but
it.
like, look at old interviews of Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
You just reminded me.
Okay.
Like, he is talking about how he can insert his values and morals into film so that he can shape the minds of the people watching. That's what film has really always been about.
The power to do so.
Yeah, the power to, change people's perspectives or sensibilities, or give them a new archetype to aspire to. You have to make prescriptive, I don't know, like when you write a script, you are prescribing what is appropriate or moral to do. When you make a hero, you're telling the viewers what is the right thing to do and who is strong and who is weak.
Yeah.
When you make a villain, you're telling the viewers what is objectively wrong and evil.
Yeah. And you think
and
that
what is cowardly.
So you think now the problem is that that what is considered acceptable is just away from what we would value.
Yeah, everything has been toppled upside down, and that's the real problem. Not just that filmmakers have become ideologically driven all of a sudden.
We just don't like
they
the
always
ideology.
have been.
We just don't like the ideology that they're now espousing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, a lot of people like would disagree with me about this, but like Hollywood has been steadily getting to this point that we call wokeism ever since Hollywood existed as an entity, as an industry. These same values have existed for over a century, and they've been enforced to keep actors and actresses as products in studios. Like, maybe this is a little too ambiguous, but like actresses in old Hollywood were forced effectively to be on mind-altering medications, to not get pregnant, and to not get married. And then when they were no longer sellable as products, then they were discarded.
Which is like that now the movies are just catching up to the values that they already possessed.
Yeah, these values have existed in Hollywood for so long.
For a very, very long time.
It's just becoming more noticeable. That's the only difference.
It boggles my mind because I think to like all of the stuff that I really like, all of the shows that I really like, which are very, for the most part, I mean, I love some stuff that's on the heavier side of like the dramatic spectrum, but most of it is like fairly lighthearted, right? And there's a fine line for like the concept of like a dramedy, which is like half drama, half comedy, or it's drama with comedy sprinkled in a way that's done well enough that it doesn't inhibit the serious moments from feeling serious. Mm-hmm. And that felt like a really good genre to kind of go after like topics that involve the real world, because the real world is a fairly is a place where you're going to have dramatic moments, you're going to be serious, but you're also going to laugh. And I feel like they've lost the plot on a lot of that.
That's, well, actually, Being Mortal, Aziz Ansari's film, all we know about it is that it's a dramedy about about hospice care and I think end of life care. It's exactly what you're talking about, but it's suspended in production and we don't know if it'll come out.
I used to work as a medical supply delivery person, so I would go in and out of hospice care facilities, and I wouldn't be able to find the humor in making a movie there, but you can obviously have to find the humor when they work in an industry like that, because you won't survive unless you learn how to laugh as well as cry, I suppose, would be the way of phrasing it.
Yeah, when I think about the jokes that Bill Murray might have made on set for being mortal, and while they're all wearing N95s and they're subject to nose swabs and all of these different COVID protocols, I can see how, the film grapples with mortality and how our health is really a blessing, and it's a fragile thing that can be threatened at any time. And I can see why he would be cracking jokes about that didn't land well, or that he made in an unprofessional way, especially given his age, makes him particularly vulnerable to COVID. And I believe that that's why he was casted in the film. He probably was casted as a patient in hospice care.
Do you think that the idea that we used to have the idea that Hollywood gave the people what they wanted, right? That they made the movies that people wanted to see. Do you think that at that time the value systems just happened to line up and now they just don't, and that they were always going to make the movies they wanted to make the way they wanted to make them? And it was just a coincidence that at the time their value system, at least for the time being, hadn't evolved so far as our value system has remained fairly stagnant the whole way, and theirs was always was fairly close to ours, but then just got progressively more and more progressive, I guess, and just moved away from where we were.
It's difficult to tell.
I
mean, I don't want to frame them as like this other species that somehow like wants different things than we do.
I
Human psychology spans this across, strata of society, and like people in the entertainment industry, they want the same stories that we want. They are human beings after all. They have the same psychology that we have, and the same drives and instincts and desires in the deepest parts of themselves. Like, they have the same desires that we do. Maybe a desire for faux liberation has been instilled in them by a third party, and that's very difficult to uproot in them.
But I think back to what we said that one time about like how when Hollywood promotes itself to the rest of the world, they don't promote American values, they promote Hollywood values. They really are kind of a nation unto themselves. So I don't know if I buy that. Yeah, maybe in the deepest recesses of their brain, they have values that might come somewhere close to what ours may be.
When they're portraying a reimagined Snow White, it's because the women of Hollywood want to feel like they have agency, and they want to feel like they have power and autonomy. Yeah. And those come from like very natural human desires that I'm sure are not right in Hollywood.
So you think that it's because
everything is just very twisted and confused right now. That's all I'm saying.
You think that would be more insulting to them, though, to have the people who don't allow them to have their own agency making the movies that tell people to have agency?
Yeah. I mean, obviously Hollywood is a very like sick society that's insulated in basically a bubble.
Yeah.
With their own like spores milling about, I guess.
So to me, I don't take issue with all of what Scorsese said. I just took issue with the part where he kind of dismisses the fact that the money does matter. It does, whether you like it or not. A movie has to make 2 times its budget.
It's ironic for someone who's made so much money to even say that.
A movie has to make 2 times its budget at least to be worth making more of, because you only keep 60% of the box office anyways.
That just shows that like once your net worth gets to a certain place, the difference of $1 million or 2 million, whatever number of millions there are, makes no difference to you.
They don't get it.
Yeah, they don't get profits anymore.
Let's go super chats.
Tacti Plati, Caper 2X said the Marvel Writers Room reminded me of Pop Culture Crisis.
I haven't even seen it, and I'm offended.
So?
And I'm offended.
Explain yourself.
I would like to know what Caper 2X thought of Daredevil.
What do you think the Pop Culture Crisis Writers Room is like? You don't want to know, buddy.
And I want to know.
You don't want to know. We're breaking so many HR rules up in here.
And I want to know what Caper 2X thought of Daredevil in She-Hulk. I would like to know.
Let's hear from him. Shattered Mask said, "Have you ever had a dream that you want them to do you so much you could do anything?"
Sounds like me when I talk.
Gamer2X said, "The Kevin AI had a blonde Brett's air."
Yes,
Make mine Marvel.
The name of the AI program from what I understand in the She-Hulk finale is named Kevin.
And he had your air.
Apparently.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "So we want a special guest appearance with Halls and the Kid with a special appearance from Surge and his feet."
We will be putting no feet. There will be no feet cam here. Though I did threaten that at one point. I think I made that joke once. It's like, what if we just put a camera under the table? Like a 360 camera under the table.
We can do both and give them their own chance to speak. Okay. Professor Dolt said, "Have you seen the new episode of Hot Ones with Viola Davis? Comment section is full of bots praising her."
I don't doubt that that there are bots. I heard that she retracted some of her statement about the Woman King and stuff that was said on there, because a lot of people were like, the Dahomey were not a peaceful tribe, and they enslaved many a people, and it's Hollywood revisionism. It is what it is.
1,000-Foot Deep End said, "I sat in disbelief as Tim was spoiling She-Hulk finale on IRL last night. It was so bad and ridiculous. I almost thought he was making it up on the fly."
Would have been cooler if he was.
Potatoes for Seamus sent $1.99 with no message.
Thank you, Potatoes.
Thank you. Hobbit said, "Party on."
And that was a good party. Actually,
Thank
that
you
one,
for
yes.
the party.
What do you think? Like, do you think we should start maybe add a new sound? I wonder how many sounds we could add without it being like a copyright issue. Like, could we do that?
I mean, any royalty-free.
What were we listening? What was the trailer we were watching earlier?
For Wednesday?
For what? Yeah, and of course they had to use
just that.
The Paint It Black but not Paint It Black song. like did they just not want to?
Every trailer now has this like bounding music.
It's a song, but it's dark and reimagined. Yes.
Yeah. Joseph said, "At the end of the day, all of this amounts to the individual's offering to the life force. We all have our own heroic journey that gives meaning."
Those are great words to go for into the weekend.
Yeah, just, not quite as deep as Wesley did say that one time on the show.
Yes.
Not sure what Wesley said, but
it was deep.
It was deep, man.
It was deep. So much so that you looked at him and you're like, that was deep.
It really was.
Yeah.
But I just have no idea what he said. Bad app. I said I recommend Dating No Filter on Hulu for trash TV. I like dating reality shows.
I have been watching
funny.
very much Hulu lately. That's becoming my personal favorite as far as the actual.
What have you been watching on it?
I
thought it was pretty bad.
I was moving through back through the first 5 seasons of Criminal Minds, and I would argue that the 4th season of Criminal Minds I'd put that up against any network show. It's very, very, very good. There's very, very good stuff.
Any
in there.
Hulu originals?
No, nothing. Like I saw part of Dope Sick and I couldn't get through it because of anything involving drugs.
I mean,
for
yeah,
me
it's not a good idea
it's
based on the title alone.
Yeah, the anything on drugs is particularly triggering for me. So, all right, we are going to move on and we are going to talk about Candace Owens, and we are going to update people because we are not fake news here. We're going to update people on what happened.
We're going to fact check ourselves.
Yes, we are. So it says Candace Owens accuses the Kardashian family of planting stories about her. That's a very bold claim to make. She basically said that the Kardashians are just best friends with Harvey from TMZ.
Yeah, TMZ.
And said, like, quit planting stories about us. But as you know, as the resident Kim Kardashian stan here, who understands that she is, in fact, an evil genius, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it for a second.
Here's the fact check that we needed to do on ourselves. Kanye was debanked in September.
September 20th was when the note came in from JP Morgan that they were cutting ties with him because he'd already talked a whole bunch of crap about them.
Yeah.
And I still think that's a stupid reason to stop banking with someone, but that's just me.
Yeah, it was not due to his anti-Semitic remarks on social media, as Candace Owens seemed to hint that was about.
Yeah.
It came before that. So,
and I would like to point out
correction.
that I've seen more than a few people who exist in this sphere calling, making comments like, I'm like calling her out and saying like, hey, maybe like this was a little misleading.
Yeah.
And that's good. I want to see
Has she
people.
commented on it?
I have not. I didn't
to
see a
your
comment.
knowledge?
I have not seen a comment on it yet, but I do want to. I do think it's good when people hold people to account in their own own sphere.
I'm gonna read what Candace Owens put on her story
About Kim
after
Kardashian.
the premiere of her documentary recently. She said the Kardashians need to stop planting these ridiculous stories about me in TMZ. I'm honest to God, not the one you want to step to.
That's gonna be clipped.
I am not Hollywood. I do not play these games. I took on Black Lives Matter, and you do not want to turn my attention to you, Kim Kardashian. I have never once persuaded Ye to do anything ever. And I respect you as a mother, and I hope your family gets back together. In fact, I'll pray for it. Your kids are beautiful, and I, above anyone else, know how family can be difficult. Anytime I've met you, you have never been anything but kind, and I have seen up close how your media machine works. Please do not insert my friendship with Ye into the narrative. I promise you I am not the one.
I can't get over her saying that.
Because she's so, I don't know what the word is. She's so white collar. She's so corporate, I guess.
She's very...
Like, nothing against Daily Wire, but this is a corporation that you're a part of, and, you know, there are certain...
What you have to do is you have to picture her saying that, but at like a news desk.
Yeah.
Like that's what you have to picture.
That's the vibe of it. So it's just like, I'm not the one to step to, just feels a little bit out of place.
It made me laugh because I'm just... and she also leaked a clip. She leaked a clip of... of Kim Kardashian messaging Ray J back in like what year was it?
It must have been 2008,
something like that.
Like after Kim Kardashian's Superstar came out.
It has to be before
after Ray J began dating Whitney Houston.
So it has to be before, at the very least, before Whitney Houston passed away.
So this is not confirmed, but this is allegedly a voicemail that Kim Kardashian sent to Ray J after he started dating Whitney Houston, calling Whitney Houston a crackhead, I think the C word, an old hag.
Can we play it?
Yeah.
Okay. So
calling her disgusting.
Let's listen to it. Apologize for the volume if it's allowed to start.
Okay.
Some tapes are making the rounds of Kim Kardashian, and she's talking trash. This is years ago. It seems to be a voicemail that she left Ray J, where it's not the sweet little Kim K that she presents today. She's nasty. She's calling Whitney Houston a crackhead, and she's yelling at Ray J. And this tape landed on my lap, and I am told that there is much, much more. Take a listen.
Ray, it's Kim. I just want you to know that I think you are so disgusting and desperate. Who leaves their email address on their machine?
I know, right?
You clearly want people to call you, but yet you won't call me back. And actually, you know what? Don't call me back. Don't ever call me back. I never want to talk to you ever again. I think you're honestly a sick human being, and I think you are just so desperate that you'll do anything for attention, and you're just so disgusting. Honestly, so, have fun with old hag Whitney Houston. She's so
That's Kim.
sick, and, crack is definitely not whack with you guys.
It is it's the most California voice ever.
Makes me laugh on how disgusting you guys look. You're in Vegas with Whitney, and you need to go hang out with your old, friend, and it's not right, but it's okay. I'm definitely going to make it anyway, because you guys are just disgusting and sick, and stop you're with her. I don't understand it.
Well, at the end, she
old and sick, and you are just sick and desperate.
begins screaming.
Thank you.
Around and stop calling me. I hate you.
So it's being
To be fair, she's nuts. She comes off nuts.
I think that's got to be Kim, the cadence of her
Yeah.
speech. It's got to be real.
And it's just funny because
I'm surprised at how little this coverage this voicemail is getting.
And they're not wrong, because if there's one thing that Candace Owens is it's very smart and very well prepared when she makes her arguments, right? So I wouldn't want to be like, but it's like you're going up against the machine. You're not going up against Kim Kardashian. You're going up against literally the entirety of the Hollywood and modern day mainstream media ecosystem when you take on these groups. So that I have a lot of respect for the ability to stand on what you believe. You know, don't pull me into your drama. That's fine.
Yeah, but at the same time, by hanging out with Kanye in the middle of what a lot of people are calling his worst mental break yet,
which of
you've
course
got to accept that news is going to cover that, and it's controversial because you yourself are a controversial figure, just like Kanye is. I'm sure that's why they get along.
Yep. So where do you think she got the tape from?
I would love to know. She just said that it fell into her lap.
Did Kanye just like...
I don't know. I mean, Ray J was present at the premiere of Candace's documentary. Yeah. Maybe Ray J was the one who supplied it to her.
He just has it on an actual...
They're not good at covering your tracks, folks.
It would be very cool if you had it on like an actual answering machine tape from like the 90s. Like the little tape that looks like this. It's like this. Oh, you weren't even alive yet. But then it's a thing. Like you put the little tape in the answering machine, you close the lid.
I wasn't around for answering machines.
Have you ever seen the TikToks or the reels of like the people? It's like making your voicemail in 2004, and you hold your phone up to like a song that's playing, and then you stop it, and you're like, "Yeah, hit me up if you want to." It's really
you
funny.
did that?
No, I didn't, but
okay.
My brother definitely did.
That's funny.
And I love it because the thing is like she sounds like the most vindictive, not media trained. We talk a lot about being media trained. Mm-hmm. That was clearly before she had mastered her media trained technique. I bet you. I don't think she would leave a voicemail like that now.
Well, what you said about it is like this is how people in Hollywood talk when they think that no one is going to listen.
Yeah.
Or they think no one's listening. I
It's
think
how
that
I
a lot
imagine-
of people in the entertainment industry speak this way to people they believe to be subordinates.
Yeah.
Because they believe that they don't have any accountability. And oftentimes that's true.
What if she ended it with like, just go work harder or whatever she said in
Go get your effing ass up and work.
Yes. It's like get up and work. Get up and work.
But this was because at the time Ray J was actually getting to be more famous than her. And that's like inconceivable today.
I know, right?
The level she's at right now. But like,
you're like, holy crap.
Dating Whitney Houston at the time was really good for his public image.
I just after what did I watch recently? I watched like a Whitney Houston perform "I Will Always Love You" live at like the 90, like the 94. I was like listening to it at like, cause like somebody's like I was talking to somebody about music that brought people together, and there was like a couple examples I gave of like when crowds seemed more, because we were talking about Lizzo and being like how she's like, I don't make music for white people. But then, like, she's making music for, she's making music
for white college girls, essentially.
And I was thinking about it because there's this great tape of, like, Whitney Houston of Mariah Carey from Madison Square Garden in 1995 performing, like, Always Be My Baby. It's, like, the most diverse crowd you've ever seen in your entire life. And you think about how different the world was in the 90s. You wouldn't, I don't think you'd even be able to fathom it because, like I was like 9 years old at that time, but I look back on that. I wasn't really old enough to understand what was going on, but I was looking at that and I'm like, just look at how much more of a coalition we were as a people, or at least it felt that way. Maybe it wasn't, maybe that's just how we remember it. Maybe there's rose colored glasses there, but imagine she's in that crowd and she's like, I didn't make music for half of you people here at this concert.
But at the time she would have never said that because there wasn't the same
I don't think
mass media.
Yeah, I don't think Mariah Carey would have said it anyway. But or like, did you see the tape yesterday of the coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the reporter tries to like bait him into talking about, they're like, you're one of 2 black coaches in the NFL, and he's like, yeah, we don't see race here. She's like, well, don't you think it's important that you're a form of representation for these people? And like the way she phrases it is
these
so
people.
It's so racist, and you're just like, and the dude just shuts this chick down, and it's the most beautiful thing I've seen.
Because when you don't respond in kind, it's more embarrassing for the person who asked.
Yeah.
I think being media trained these days should be about not giving in to the leading questions that the media gives you. The same way that we were talking about statesmanship earlier.
Let's see if we can find it.
To know how to respond gracefully and be unaffected by those polarizing questions that the media asks now, to get the headline that's like, coach calls out. I don't know. They want the slam. This person slams the other person. This person calls out the other person. Claps back at the other person. That type of mass media manipulation didn't exist when Mariah Carey was performing to that diverse crowd. And just the same way, she didn't feel the need to say anything like that.
And it makes me sad. It makes me sad.
Having not lived through it, obviously I can't grieve that past that I didn't experience.
Let's see if I can play this.
Are you sure it's not copywritten?
It might be. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't. I don't know if it might be copyrighted. So, but okay. Yeah, but the guy shuts down this reporter, and he's just like, "Look, it's a meritocracy in sports, anyways. Like, it's just, I miss that. I know we're kind of off topic here, but I miss that. I miss that kind of listening to. It came up to me with the Whitney Houston thing because I was thinking about the idea that the concept of love is no longer like something that they actually champion in music. The same. I was talking to someone about how the reason the Top Gun Maverick, like the Lady Gaga song at the end, is so powerful is because you don't really hear ballads like that anymore.
Well, which Lizzo song of her hits is about love? They're all about her.
Independent women.
Lizzo's songs are about Lizzo.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how that's interesting or appealing to
anyone. Yeah.
That to the mainstream audience, but somehow it is.
Do you think there's a certain amazing level of narcissism about the idea that you're like a representative for all people that look like you? I don't like that's just, it seems weird to me. I would never, I would feel it weird that anybody would feel that they are qualified to take on such a mantle.
I think you've got to be a narcissist to take on a responsibility like that and think that it's owed to you.
Yeah. So do you think that Candace Owens keeps going after Kim Kardashian?
I respect the boldness.
5 years ago, I would never.
Obviously,
nowhere on my lead up to nuclear war bingo card did I ever see.
When did you find out who Candace Owens was?
2017, probably 2018.
It's been a while since she's been on
my
radar, but for people who are just Kanye fans watching Kanye,
they'll have no idea.
And looking into the fact that he's friends with this random woman, I can't imagine what they think she is or stands for and why she's coming after his ex-wife. I also
want to make another funny trope that I've been talking about. I'd love to do a whole segment on tropes that have died. We talk about women being saved, things like that. I'd argue that trope has been dying for a long time. But there's a lot of things you'll see in movies and television shows that it's I don't want to be seen as a victim. Where now it's everyone wants to be seen as a victim.
I think people want to be seen as a victim when it requires no vulnerability from them.
Yeah.
And it requires all of the showmanship and vulnerability from the other party who supposedly hurt them.
And it's I've actually kind of put that on myself sometimes because I'm very open about my history with substance abuse, but I'm doing it from a place of where I'm in a good place now, right? So it's a lot less vulnerable when you're on the other side of that problem, right? Where you're in a good place now, so you feel safer talking about it. I would argue that it's harder to be that open about it when you're still going through the hardest parts of it.
Imagine if you were still in the middle of your lowest place and there were people going to a media outlet saying that they're an insider in your life.
Yeah.
Yep. And how that would make you want to push everyone away because you can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
I think that's what Candace was really trying to call out is...
Oh, it was because they were they think that she's influencing him. She has some
insiders
magical...
in Kanye's life, the people he's closest to who suspiciously aren't talking to him and have less contact with him than Candace Owens does. they supposedly know what's really going on and what her true intentions are. Like, Kanye doesn't even have enough credibility anymore for her to use him for those purposes.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because like he doesn't like it's not like his name like as much as I love Kanye's music and I love Kanye as like an artist and what I think he represents, he's like his mainstream credibility has now been ruined by the mainstream media.
Yeah, even in the eyes of people who are fond of Kanye, like his credibility has been hurt.
Yeah, probably
rightly so. I think he is going through some kind of mental health struggle. I don't know to what degree, but
I don't know about that.
I think he clearly doesn't have a lot of people close to him who he can talk to privately. I think it's a two-way street. Like, they deserve the expectation that those correspondences are kept private.
Yeah.
Like, when Diddy, for example, was texting Kanye and being like, let's meet up in person and talk about this in person.
Yeah.
I think, I respect that. And he still had his texts with Kanye posted publicly for everyone to see.
Yeah.
That, I don't think that that's like the mindset of someone who is like stable to be posting things like that.
I guess maybe just because his art tends to fall in the same line, so it all kind of blends together to me, but I also love the art, so...
Mm-hmm. I want to like continue reading through what Candace said to Kim. Supposing already that Kim read this, I don't know if she has. Do you think she has? Does she pay that close attention?
She's a busy woman.
There's so much going on in Kim Kardashian's world.
It's almost more. Yeah. Did you see the thing about her thinking about her grandma while having sex with Pete Davidson by a fireplace? When that's part of your life, I imagine you're a busy person.
Yeah.
But. It's almost more like is that like it's kind of the meme of like I don't even know who you are. Like, you ruined my whole life. I don't even know who you are.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, Candace Owens says all this, and Kim Kardashian's like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, like, exactly. So she said, call your boy Harvey and tell him to pull the dogs off or to respectfully reach out next time the, quote, sources say anything else that is completely made up. Don't make me have to do The Greatest Lie Ever Sold Part 2, Kardashian Cartel. TMZ, you are absolute trash for running that made-up article while ignoring the bigger story, which is that Ye spoke to reporters last night about tweets and clarified his thoughts, or that I exposed the BLM narrative, which you guys so heavily pushed. For those of you that want to know what I'm talking about, a story was shopped around just ahead of my premiere, claiming that I'm working as an official advisor to Ye, taking his money and influencing his decisions. It also suggested that I plotted the White Lives Matter t-shirt weeks ahead of the show. Every single one of the above points is a complete and utter lie meant to change public perception of me. That sounds like grounds for defamation. The purpose of lies is control. It's a means to make it seem as though I'm taking advantage of a mentally ill person and trying to line my own. If that narrative was implied about a Jewish person, it would be anti-Semitic. So why is that implication toward a black person not racist by the media's standards? Why isn't it a racist trope for them to suggest that I am stealing from Ye?
She's so well spoken and so concise and clear with her words. Like, I envy her ability to communicate accurately, actively. It's always very impressive.
But it's still so like those remarks are still so cutting.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
She said, please keep that same energy when TMZ comes out and suggests that I'm some poor black beep that needs to steal and not a successful businesswoman. I came from nothing. I did not have a Hollywood father for a dad or parents that could afford to put me through school. I didn't drop a sex tape to enter the cultural conversation. You will respect me. You can disagree with me. You don't have to like me, but you will respect me. I am not some groupie or Instagram thought that will tolerate your sources say BS. Yeah. You can pick up the phone and call me directly if you have any questions, Kim Kardashian. As I said, I respect you as a good mother to those beautiful children, so respect me enough to know that I would never influence someone to do anything that goes against their own family. Interesting, right?
Very interesting.
There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there.
Go for it. What do you think?
The racial dimension to it, I disagree with.
In what way?
I understand that there's a double standard applied when it's someone who ideologically disagrees with that media machine.
Yeah.
But
there is some truth to the fact that that they decide what is racist, what is sexist, what is homophobic, what is transphobic, and it's never applied evenly, and it's never applied with any level of 50-50 dissemination between sides.
I guess she's right in digging through TMZ's motivation, or the implication they were making about Candace Owens is that she's a grifter who needs to siphon off Kanye's clout and success and money in order to excel in her own right. That's not true.
And they also, I will point out that TMZ has been less than, I actually used to be kind of impressed at how unbiased TMZ could be at times.
Yeah,
Obviously,
we made jokes about that on the show before.
There's bias in what you choose to cover, but I found that unless they're talking about Donald Trump or Kanye, they're pretty good about staying out of the language that seems to imply a side. They don't have that ability with Trump or Kanye for some reason.
Or Candace Owens.
Yes. Well, I don't see a lot of articles from them on Candace Owens.
There's no proof that Kim Kardashian or Kim Kardashian's PR team, I can't imagine how many people are a part of that, are solely responsible for planting this story.
Thank you.
Because, like, that is how it appears when he's at the premiere in the middle of one of the most, like, controversial headline consumed periods of his life he's ever been in.
And for a documentary that actually is relevant to a statement that he made the week before. So even if you're not malicious, you could draw that inference.
Like, it does seem like a clout symbiotic relationship at the very least, which is fine.
Yeah, there's
but
not
it is
necessarily
unfair
anything
to
wrong
say
with
that she is, like, basically
grifting,
stealing from Kanye. I didn't remember TMZ's article explicitly claiming that Kanye is paying her as an official advisor, but there is the context that he told Tucker he paid 530 different people to be consultants for him last year.
Man, that consultant class. We need to get in on that.
Kanye is, like, solely responsible for this bloated consulting class.
If anybody needs
who
a
are
consultant,
overpaid for bad advice.
If anybody needs a consultant, you know.
And it's also a dead end to try to consult Kanye's brand when he's always going to be the czar of absolutely everything.
Yeah.
If you're the head of a department in Yeezy, forget about having self-determination.
You don't
because
really
he's
have
in charge of everything.
Yeah. Like, you can give advice.
That's how he operates. He says that he hires people in his company not to listen to him. And it still doesn't work. Because he's intensely individualistic.
I think that's why I identify so heavily with him.
He's intensely visionary and not as action-oriented as a businessman probably needs to be.
I think that it's his desire to be extremely individualistic in a world that's constantly trying to zap that and strip that from him. That always, like when we're here, right? There's a lot of times where it's like I feel a certain amount of happiness when I realize that I don't always agree or don't agree with the people that I'm closest to here, because I don't ever want to feel like I'm letting the people that in my life influence my decisions too heavily, right? Because that's you lead yourself open for manipulation when things like that happen. So maybe that's just a unique trait to me, and it's a bit over the top. But I don't like the idea that you agree with everyone all the time, and I think everyone can understand that. But for him, it goes to another level. He does not like being told what to do in a business where you kind of have to learn to go along to get along. For most people, they have to learn to go along to get along. He just refuses to do that.
I think Kanye's is a completely warranted overreaction to every party around him trying to throw a leash on him.
Also, somebody in the chat asked what favorite Kanye song was to the people in the chat. I just want to say that mine's Never Let Me Down, and We Can Make It Better. Any favorite Kanye songs?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Think about it?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've listened to Kanye. I was listening to him a lot when Jesus is King.
See, I've never listened to the.
You never listened to that?
I never listened to the gospel album.
Why is that?
I just never listened to it. I like Jail Part 2 as well. It's really funny because he plays with DaBaby, and DaBaby, like, everyone hates DaBaby now.
Why is that? He's homophobic?
Yeah.
I can't believe that lasted.
Yeah,
You're kidding,
right?
right?
That held on very, very, very strong. So I don't know if Kim is going to come back after Candace Owens. I think it's more than likely that Kim will see this as the type of thing where she just lets it blow over.
Well, that's usually her strategy with everything is like ignore, deny, to quote Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Deny.
Especially if the media doesn't pick up the tape. The tape, if that was any other...
They didn't. And that's absolutely absurd. And if anything, it lends credibility to what Candace is saying, which is that she runs everything that is said about her.
If the tape had... But actually, I would make the argument that if that tape had come from a less politically opposed person,
if that tape had been sold to TMZ
from somebody
by
else,
an anonymous source.
If Ray J had done it, not under the guise of this,
if Ray J had done it without, we basically know that Ray J gave it to Candace Owens. I don't know why he chose that route.
Was there somebody out there with a cell interceptor or something? And how else would she have gotten it?
The Raycon money is good enough that he doesn't need to sell it to TMZ.
Yeah,
I guess. Let's go to Super Chats. Bad App said, Caper2X said, no, Brett, I don't have a problem with Daredevil and She-Hulk. From the beginning, I saw it as a parody of the MCU and a light romp, so don't overthink it.
Then I would have to ask what your take will be if they water down the tone of the Born Again TV show. Like I said, I understand that Daredevil in the television version and the Netflix version is not totally representative, there's that word again, of Daredevil in the comics, but just seeing the same actor there, that throws me too much to see the same actor portray the same character so differently in the same medium, I guess.
Tacti Platty said, Mary, do you have a height difference in guys to date? Brett, how about you? Preference for ladies' height? Chat was talking height earlier.
Mary?
Thanks for keeping us updated.
Mary, preferences?
Anything taller.
Taller? Yeah.
Than me. That's pretty much it.
Yes, same. Shorter. Yes, taller than me.
You like taller than
That's
you.
a joke. No, shorter.
Nope.
Shorter.
He said he likes women who are taller than him. We're running with it.
Not that hard because I'm only 5'5". So no. I think all the women that I've dated were all either like the exact same height or a little bit shorter.
It's time to change that.
No.
It's time to change that.
No.
Bobcat said, why is Kim freaking out every time Kanye is seen with a prettier woman? How would she react if Kanye showed up on Pop Culture Crisis?
That is a fantastic question. What we need is
we'll have to test it out.
It would be really funny to get Kanye on here. It feels like actually something weird that he would do where he goes to a place with two big podcasts and he goes and does the smaller one on purpose.
Yeah, just to be contrarian.
Yeah, just to be contrarian. If only we could pull that off here.
What bigger podcast? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Is there a bigger one? I've heard things.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, "Are we still saying step two? I haven't heard that term since 2005." LOL.
It was it
was pretty out of place.
That was when I graduated in 2005, so that's I'm sure a lot of people were saying that. So step two.
You remember?
I remember.
Terrence Rice said OMG.
Swear word from Kim.
That was her on the voicemail.
Yep.
I loved when she started screaming at the end, I hate you!
That's the part that's the funniest because the rest of it, she just sounds like a mean Valley girl. The part at the end is unhinged.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a joke to her the whole time.
It almost sounds like something from a movie. No, it actually has a crescendo at the end.
I think, hey, yeah! Tacti Platty said, Brett, I remember those answering machine tapes. Thumbs up.
There was a lot of I Got 5 on it and other such songs being used for voicemails back then. It was a different time, man.
Joseph said, Tool has every political leaning under the sun.
I was never a big
Never was into them.
Anemia. There's a couple songs that I like, but most of them were ones that I heard in skate videos. But it wasn't music that I sought out. Did like some Alice in Chains, but wasn't really my genre. Those weren't my genres.
DD Mega Do 97 said, "Thank you, Brett, for acknowledging my meme about the chat." Was there a meme on the subreddit he's talking about?
Sent me one on my Instagram, which is on the subreddit that we will see when we do meme review whenever Dane gets back.
Whenever Dane gets back, I pray for his recovery as well. There's sickness in the castle right now.
You know, it's good when you're like a health stud and you just don't get sick when everybody else gets sick. That's what it feels like. You're just like, oh man, like
must be nice.
Must be nice.
Dragon Stalin 1001 said, "I look at the difference between Candace and Kim K as traditional woman Candace versus modern woman Kim."
That's kind of true. I mean, Candace,
I disagree.
I think that Candace Owens is very much still a modern woman.
They're both modern women with modern sensibilities.
But Candace Owens still has some, I guess, what you would call traditional values.
Sure.
But they're still both modern women. And I do think that Candace Owens is just better spoken and more articulate, obviously.
Than Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even when Kim is trying her hardest, she comes off as vapid.
Or maybe she's not, and it's even more devious than we think, and she's actually super well spoken.
It's all an act.
And it's all an act. That's worse.
Nathan Simpson said, "The woke are underdogs when it comes to truth and reality. But when it comes to popular culture, they are the power, so they are both the oppressed by reality and the oppressor by popular culture."
They,
being the theater nerds that they are.
Yeah, and I'd argue that they don't really care about truth and reality because a lot of them are relativists and they just believe that the truth is whatever you make it anyways. So it's like
the truth is what you make into cinema.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like the craziest part. It's when you see them lie super blatantly in posts. And then you just like, that's the stuff that infuriates me, right? When they just lie, and they say it without any guile. That bothers me.
Mm-hmm. Caper2X said, "All the original actors are returning. We'll see."
Yeah, I saw somewhere that said that Deborah Ann Woll had not been contacted about coming back. So I don't know if that's still on the table. I liked her a lot in that series, and if they don't recast a redhead, we're gonna have words.
Big
Disney.
problems.
We're gonna have words.
A natural redhead or a dyed redhead?
You can do dyed. You can do dyed as long as it's like a natural looking red and not like a what?
Nothing. I'm just.
You can do a natural redhead. You can do a dyed redhead as long as the dye looks natural and not like the burnt red that they always use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Auburn.
So. And speaking of Big Trouble, we have a review for Rings of Power. We will just keep going. You ready?
Yeah.
We're ready to finish, guys. Thank God.
Are we gonna go to season 2? Too soon?
Too soon to tell. We'll have to see where the hell we're going when this is. We'll see how we feel when we get to the end. So we have the Rings of Power, and this article says the finale finally gave us what we needed to know about the Stranger. We didn't need to know anything about the Stranger because this show sucks.
Well, I didn't know that this quote was from Gandalf.
Yes.
If in doubt, always follow your nose.
Here's
so
the thing.
They are essentially saying that the Stranger is Gandalf.
And here's the thing.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yes.
If any of you care, I'm sure you don't.
Okay. Here's the thing. This is exactly a microcosm of everything that is wrong in Hollywood. Even if you heard that quote at the end about following your nose, it's delivered in a way that's supposed to let people know that it's a callback to something else. It doesn't fit. It's not well placed. It's just, hey, don't you remember?
Yeah, when I didn't understand the context,
but you knew, right?
But I thought it was bizarre.
No, see, that's the thing. This is what your brain should be telling you in that situation. Weird, out of place comment. It's a member berry. Like if it's like that's like if it's shoehorned in there, it's a member.
I could tell that it was like.
Yeah.
Meant for an audience that I wasn't a part of.
He might as well have turned to the camera and gone.
But that's like
wink, wink.
that's why I didn't understand at any point like where they were going with the marketing for this show. Were they looking to introduce Lord of the Rings as a franchise to a lot of new people who had never been exposed to it before? Or were they looking to get returning fans from the films and the books? But they wanted to have their cake and eat it too by like changing the lore in all of the ways that the existing fans couldn't stand, but also like getting all of the hype of being that familiar IP.
I want to point out that we not only got Gandalf without being called Gandalf. So now his first interaction with the Hobbit, it's not with Bilbo, it's now with Nori. But
She's a Harfoot. She's not a Hobbit.
So now we get the reveal for Halbrand. Okay, this was actually, I will give them
Should we just say it?
We're gonna do
Halbrand is Sauron.
Okay. The reveal here was actually classically telegraphed and done in a way I would have expected of old school cinema, meaning all of a sudden in episode 8, he's randomly suspicious looking all the time, leading up to the forging of the rings. Also, I want to point out that they just didn't have to make the damn rings after he left. He also disappears.
I looked into like what the actual lore was, and it was the existing lore was that Sauron disguised himself as an elf named Anatar, I think, around Celebrimbor to manipulate him into forging the rings.
Yeah.
He was not disguised as a mortal man named Halbrand. So they are effectively changing the lore, to my knowledge. Like, correct me if you know differently.
I'm also going to point. I'm also going to point to some of the. I'm going to have the chat help us with this one. So Nathan Simpson says they broke the lore to make the villains, the Nazgul, female. Do they hate women? Yeah, like they gender swapped them for no reason.
It's weird that the ascetic and the nomad were made to look sort of androgynous or like gender ambiguous as a way to make them disturbing looking as villains. Yeah. Like, you are tacitly admitting that disturbs people to show a woman with like a masculine face.
It was really
and like short hair, but with a woman's body.
The Sadok Burroughs death meant literally nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody cared.
Well, it was weird because then like I thought Marigold was gonna die too when was it the ascetic or the nomad that was blowing the fire at them?
I don't know. I think which one it was. I think Mr. H Reviews called him the real Slim Shady.
The real Slim Shady.
Yes.
Was blowing fire at Marigold, and I thought, okay, she's gonna be burnt to a crisp.
Yeah.
And then like a minute later, she's shown completely unscathed.
Yeah.
And then they're about to all get killed when the stranger saves them. And the line that was like, "I'm good," I couldn't bear to watch it anymore. It was just like so on the nose.
I don't even want to do a full review of it because it's like it ended with such a thud. To me,
or a whimper, you called it.
The reveal. I back in earlier videos, I remember Critical Drinker did a video where he goes, Galadriel and totally not Sauron. So everyone knew that was going to be so. You know, it's what I said earlier. I said you're not allowed to be a competent male unless you are evil.
Unless you have ulterior motives.
Unless you have ulterior motives or you're evil. So just the fact that Halbrand was portrayed as manly, masculinely competent meant that he was either evil, gay, or that's
well, yeah, before I had a clue that he was Sauron and he saved Galadriel's life on the raft, I thought, hey, look, this is debunking Brett's theory that Galadriel is supremely competent and a girl boss, and that, men are trampled upon in this series. But I guess you ultimately are right that there has to be some evil ulterior motive at play
Because
in order for men to help women.
Because men are bad. And I will say that I posted exactly one thing from this last night. Like, as the episode started, I go, as bad as this show is it's at its absolute worst when Galadriel is riding a horse in slow motion. And the first thing they show you is Galadriel on a horse in slow motion. They have learned nothing.
Yeah.
And I will say her best work in this episode was her interactions with Halbrand and Finrod in the post in the flash, or I'm sorry, in the dream sequence.
Yes, I
that
thought
was
so
the best,
too. And
that was the best we got from her.
That was the most facial expression I ever saw from that actress in this series.
I was like, if you could have given us half of that during the show, I might have given a single crap what happened to you at all.
Yeah. Even in that scene in this episode where Halbrand touches her shoulder and is like, I won't let anyone else forget it.
Yeah.
That you helped me. She was still just standing there with the posture of a plank, with the facial expression just completely stony as always.
I can't figure out what the
and I was trying to sell myself on their chemistry, and that would have made the reveal that he was Sauron so much more powerful. If they ever fomented that chemistry or relationship or vulnerability between them.
Yeah.
But really, her trust was not broken because they barely knew each other by that point.
Also, I want to point out that she goes on absolutely, if there is such thing as a negative hero's journey, this is what she went on. And this, she
learned absolutely nothing. She learned negative lessons.
She made the rings anyways. At the
right?
end.
Knowing that Halbrand manipulated Celebrimbor into doing that. Still was smiling evilly at the forging of the rings. And then Elrond walks in after finding out that he lied to her and is like,
okay,
what the
let's
heck?
Make him anyways.
And then
holding the scroll that she looks at, and then they just decide to not say anything about
right.
it.
I wonder, I looked at comments about the second season coming up from, people involved in the project.
And you said there has to be 5 seasons?
Yeah, so in the deal to get rights with the estate said they have to make at least 5 seasons of this series.
So why the hell didn't they start on season 2 already?
They just started filming in London last week for the second season.
Because they moved it from New Zealand to London.
You should have been already almost finished filming season 2 by now if you already knew that 5 seasons were guaranteed.
It is possible that if the show was so bad that they just wanted to scrap it, they could pay some type of legal fine to get out of making it, maybe. And they're maybe we'll wait and see.
But you don't plan on that.
No. So this is one of those shows where it's and I really do agree that this show, a bad show, can survive a lot longer with a really charismatic lead and a good supporting cast. And I would argue that Halbrand was the best you got, along with the guy who played what was his name? Elendil was the best you got as far as acting in this show, and kind of pitching your horse to Galadriel, who's just bad.
Also, blind Muriel kind of kicked up her feet in this episode too.
And they're like, Durin? Who the frick is Durin? We're not going to see Durin at all in this episode.
Yeah, he was gone.
They're just gone. It's I guess they don't matter.
Even though they were the ones that found the Mithril.
Oh, here's the other thing. This is such an easy fix for them, given how much freaking talking is done on this show. If you had actually made the creation of the rings, trying to figure out the Mithril, a thing throughout the whole episode, where they got it from episode 2, and then they were working on making this work all the way up to this episode, it wouldn't make all the people look so freaking incompetent.
I don't understand, because I'm not familiar with the lore, I don't understand what the forging of the rings has to do with the survival of the elven race. They didn't really sufficiently make that clear.
To be fair,
why Galadriel thought it was worth it to go through with that after knowing that Halbrand had ulterior motives in encouraging.
Yeah. And as normies, we're the people you're supposed to be explaining this to. Like I said, the reason this show fails on all levels, guys, is because we are literally your target audience. We are the people who are we're literally being chained to watch it because like you want to convince the people that don't care enough about it to turn it off, but are like, oh, look, Lord of the Rings. I remember Lord of the Rings. That was very popular when I was a kid. Like me, who's seen the movies once. Mary's seen the movies. Did you read the books?
Yeah.
So like you're it's not the Tolkien superfans that you're clearly marketing to. It's us. If you can't win us over, you're effed from the beginning, and you did not do that. You did not succeed.
Yeah, I think it's clearly not about like winning people over at this point. It's about getting people to casually turn on the show and not feel negative feelings toward it at the very least. And that's like the bare minimum that they're going for.
I want to find out that Jeff Bezos has like a way of knowing who's bought stuff while watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And then what they've bought.
Like trying to make something good requires a lot more risk taking than making something serviceable and inoffensive generally. Yeah. So for shareholders, I guess this is a lot better than it could have turned out.
Here's a comment from Average Panda. Says, I greatly fear that normies will think that the Rings of Power is actually accurate to the book's films. My hope is that that's not true. That like there's been enough pushback that people know that this is not accurate to the films and the books. Like
they didn't show the forging of the other rings, then just the 3 for the elves.
Also, the rings look like costume jewelry.
Why were they so gaudy?
They're so ugly.
I thought that they were just going to be plain
gold rings.
I
know.
Why do they
ugly? Because this show is done by incompetent weirdos. I want to point out that for this show to fail, like to fail this badly, some of the CGI in this episode was really bad. There was really, and for most of the show, I didn't notice it.
In the altercation between the stranger and the ascetic and the nomad.
And anything on the boat, this episode was really, really bad.
I mean,
$1 billion.
When their skeletons were exposed in that one part.
So bad.
Yeah, and then all of there was one scene where like it was in the darkness and all of those embers were falling.
Yeah.
That I thought was cool looking.
But
the rest of it was just so cornball.
And like I said, they could have just better actors, dude.
By the way, I don't know if you stayed this long, but the post or the credits song that was sung
awful.
by Fiona Apple.
Of all the people, might as well.
It was it was awful.
It just the whole thing was, and then you get, and here's the thing. Like I thought that Halbrand as kind of like a vaguely nefarious dude was actually okay. Him as like evil Sauron, far less frightening. like when he's an unknown entity, it kind of works. When he's supposed to be
when you don't know his history.
Yeah. Like now you're just like, bleh. Now you just look like generic British dude number 5 with your 90s hair and like you're about to go to a Backstreet Boys concert. I guess it would be Oasis, right? Because he was in Britain. So
he looks like he would sit down at an Oasis concert.
Like,
he would stay seated the whole time.
I love Noel Gallagher. I love him so very much. Like it was really bad, guys. And like I said, I would like to believe that we gave this show more of a shot than a lot of people who were going to watch this and who knew for all the right reasons that they were going to hate it from the beginning because they love the lore. But they failed so badly.
I mean, didn't you think that the scene where Nori was saying goodbye to her family and her friends was so drawn out, unnecessarily
drawn out. 15 minutes
out.
Longer than it needed to be.
I think it was like they were trying to drag out the length of the episode in post and didn't have as many minutes as they were planning on having.
And the whole, I still think that Nori is one of the better characters.
She was, yeah.
But in this episode, I still like it's like her and what's her name, Poppy.
Yeah.
Just just
The conversation
throw
where it was
me
like you were such a good friend, and
they're gonna be like they're gonna be gay next season.
I
guarantee.
I
it.
really hope not.
I guarantee.
Because they're almost like siblings in the show. Like they're basically like siblings.
Well, it's not gonna matter because it's Hollywood. They don't care.
Yikes!
That's what's going to happen. And it just the whole thing was just.
We didn't see Bronwyn or Aaron here.
Oh my God, you're right. Now I'm really offended.
You forgot.
No, Bronwyn.
The fact that you forgot is so telling.
Like the one lady who I just fake stan this whole time because I think the actress is kind of smoking hot, but that's that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
No Bronwyn, no Arendir, thank God. no Theo, no Durin, no Disa.
Yep.
None of it. And arguably Durin and Disa were like two of the better characters in the show.
Durin was pretty good. I don't
Even
know
though
about
Disa was real annoying in that last episode. Let's move on. And when season 2 comes out,
let us know if you guys want a review of season 2. I might not be able to make it through that.
Do you guys? I in the chat. Do you want season 2 to be reviewed? Because I'd like to think that we're not hate watchers, like that we've given the episodes a fair shake and pointed out the stuff that we like. But we can do a season 2 review. We're here for you guys.
Hobbit said, again, reimagined, destroy the ideals that offend you, stick in your own, and corrupt the whole. This show is a butchery of Tolkien's work that then was used as a public toilet. I can only hope it fades into history as a fail.
Well, we got 4 more seasons before it fails into history, unfortunately. Average Panda says, I highly doubt there will even be a season 2. They're already in production for season 2. And I think that there's enough hubris and money there for them to refuse to admit that it's going to be a one-season failure.
They do not have the option to not make a season 2. As I said, like in order to get rights from the estate, which cost them $250 million, by the way. Non-negligible amount, I would call that.
Yes.
They have to make a minimum of 5 seasons in the series before renegotiating. So you are going to get more Rings of Power, whether you like it or not. And that's why Amazon was saying, even if it fails, it's a success. Because
we will literally make it so.
Yes.
We will literally make it so.
You're going to rewrite history. So
help me.
There's the Rings of Power season finale.
Let's do. No, we should do. We should do a She-Hulk, Rings of Power crossover.
Please no.
Let's do a She-Hulk.
I would still hate watch it.
She-Hulk comes in and beats up Sauron because whammon, and because he's afraid of strong, independent women that are lawyers.
It was weird that they were like making it this big build up to finding out that the stranger is of the Maiar, because there were people saying he was of the Maiar from the very first episode. There were people saying that they thought he was Sauron from the very first episode.
Like I said, a lot of people really figured that it would end up being
Gandalf.
Yeah.
It's so cheap to add that at the end.
And I keep going back to it too, but every time I think of these actors, and then you think of a character like Sauron, or you think of a character like Gandalf, and then or Galadriel, and then you get these actors that are just bleh. Mm-hmm. They're just average. They're just average to below average. And I'm not trying to be rude to them in any way. I'm not saying that they're not talented. I'm saying that they're not up to the task of what this franchise should have entailed.
But there was not one familiar face in the entire series.
No.
And that was on purpose.
So,
despite the fact that they had such a huge budget.
And we all know that those actors would have come back, I'm sure. Maybe. Maybe
well,
not.
I feel like more so if this is your breakout role, you are willing to come back season after season, even if it's a train wreck.
Yep. All right. Now that we are, do you feel lighter? Do you feel better?
No.
But I now guess what, guys?
I'm glad I don't have to watch it anymore.
This means that I now get to. I don't have to live in fear of Thursday nights.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Like, I no longer have to be like, oh my God, it's Thursday.
We shouldn't have guests on more often.
Yes.
Ian should get sick more often. Just kidding. He's going to be on Monday. Don't worry, guys.
Speaking of, yes, we are going to have Ian on Monday.
If he's feeling well.
If he's feeling better. But speaking of getting sick, MIA warns of nuclear war and suggests that celebrities should pay for lying about vaccines. This from timcast.com. Written by the fantastic
Specifically,
Christopher
Chris
Burton.
Burton.
It says the rapper who frequently discusses politics and culture on social media commented on Alex Jones's Wednesday verdict, in which the InfoWars host was ordered to pay $1 billion in the Sandy Hook defamation case. One of my favorite parts about that was like the clip that Dane made. Said like, why not just order them to? Why not pay $1 billion or why not pay $1 zillion or something like that?
So MIA posted a screenshot of her Twitter trending page with the caption, Alex Jones lying and Pfizer lying, both trending. One with penalty, other without. If you have no critical thinking faculty, this is about as crazy as we should get before a nuclear war wipes out the human race.
Yeah. Yep. That's
Heavy stuff.
Dude, it feels like we've been like frogs in a boiling pot to nuclear war. Like where it's like it used to be one of those things like that'll never happen. We're enlightened as a society. That's never gonna happen. Now it's kind of like, I wonder when that's gonna happen.
If we have the weapons, we are not
going
enlightened
to use them.
as a society.
Did any of you see the article from somebody saying like, could a small nuclear war prevent climate change?
Oh yeah,
We are in the end
What
times.
is considered a small nuclear war?
No idea.
Define that, please.
Also, I do want to point out that my friends and I had our own version of, do you guys know Rick Rolling? Do you remember Rick Rolling, people, where you'd send somebody a disguised link, and it would be a link to Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. Well, we had our own version because we all hated the song Paper Planes by MIA, so you would hide the links to the song and send it to your friends at random times, and then you'd get a message of just nothing but expletives and mid-2000s emojis, which are just like symbols that make up other like, and it was like that's what you did if you wanted to ruin your friend's day. You sent them Paper Planes by MIA, the video.
That's funny.
So she's apparently fairly based, I'm seeing here.
She also said it's 2022. So far, no one has ever paid $1 billion for lying or being in denial on this planet. If Alex Jones pays for lying, shouldn't every celebrity pushing vaccines pay too?
A lot of people have yet to see the clip of the Pfizer CEO talking about like, we didn't know that it wasn't going to prevent transmission. like we they wanted us to get it done fast. What did you want us to do?
There have been so many mainstream celebrities that spoke about that, and it's like, it really like should be a liability to give millions of people, billions of people you don't know, medical advice. It's the same as if you were tweeting about like what they should do with like their finance decisions.
Yeah, like
should that not have the same liability?
If there's something
for you,
yeah. Like when you think about it, like there's nothing that people are more quick to be like, oh, I am not a like for some reason
I am not a financial advisor.
That one scares the crap out of people.
But no one says I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical advisor.
Tim does.
Don't take my advice.
Tim does. Tim goes, go see your doctor. Go to like,
that's an exception.
But like Sticks, whenever he like talks about crypto, he's like, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not don't do that. That's
people are very diligent about avoiding liability for financial issues, but
otherwise take this untested drug.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Complete license to tell all of your fan base as a mainstream celebrity that they should get a certain medical treatment.
It's
interesting.
Maybe we could get oh god,
I hate Hugh Jackman's quote here. Wolverine's healing ability can't save me from COVID, but the vaccine can. Get it. And then there's Rosario Dawson's whole essay about the vaccine and how thrilled she was to get it.
Did you see the people who get the vaccine tattoos? They get like the
no way.
There's people who get like their Band-Aid tattooed there, and then get like the date of their vaccine date on there because they're mentally ill.
Like putting the date of like the birth of your child on your body,
or so like one dude had the
you know
how you had to have like the form that said like when you got vaccinated and boosted. He got that tattooed on him, and then as he got them, he got the updates tattooed on him because we live in a absolutely clownish world of just nothingness anymore. Nothing matters anymore.
Well, when you create that much desperation to have human contact,
yep.
that's
And
the length people will go to.
And I do want to point out before we go, I got one more. This one's a little bit outside of our purview, but you consider high art pop culture. So I think we can.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
we can talk. We can at least brush past this one. Tim covered this today. Basically, a couple of climate activists went in threw soup on a painting
I wanna
of
know
Vincent Van Gogh's.
What flavor was
What flavor soup? So here's the other thing about it. Not only that, they did have a glass in front of it, and then they tried to, in the video, they tried to glue their hands.
I think one of them actually did.
And they're like shaking as they're doing it. There's so much narcissism. And then there's a photo of the one with the purple hair after they get arrested doing the okay hand sign with her hands behind her back.
Yeah, like she's handcuffed and she's doing the okay symbol with her hand
And what
behind
I
her
learned
back.
is that's actually a symbol they use in climate activism.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like that's actually, so they've commandeered it from the alt-right and made it their own.
That's cool that the heat has been taken off of us then
That's
for using the OK symbol.
Yeah, so
Their group is called Just Stop Oil.
it's very inventive. It's like just do
Good
it for
idea.
It's like just do it for Nike, but that's like even the text on the shirts is like supposed to be like a Nike ripoff.
They said human creativity and brilliance is on show in this gallery, yet our heritage is being destroyed by our government's failure to act on climate and cost of living crisis.
Now it's the cost of living crisis.
Why are we protecting these paintings when we're not protecting the millions of lives that will be lost due to climate and societal collapse? I hate these people. What use is art when we face the collapse of civil society? The art establishment, artists, and the art-loving public need to step up into civil resistance if they want to live in a world where humans are around to appreciate art.
Okay, and in mainstream media, this is your fault on every level to scare the living crap out of children from an early age into generic gobbledygook that means nothing doomerism that turns them into weird activists that are telling you to do something. They don't know what you're supposed to do, but you're supposed to do something. They don't actually have policy ideas because they don't know what they're talking about.
Their policy idea is just stop
Fix it.
using fossil fuels. Good idea.
Which is an untenable position, as we know. And I want to point out that this is a weird way in which these people are just trying to enjoy art. They're just at the museum for the day. And this is the world we live in now.
I don't like the question, what use is art when we face the collapse of civil society? Because art never had a utilitarian purpose.
It doesn't have a purpose at all. It's
It
just
was
art.
never meant to, and that is where like art has the opportunity to be beautiful.
Yeah.
It's extraneous to the day-to-day tasks and scenes that we look at in daily life.
Yeah. It's funny.
It's
because
extraneous to human life to appreciate art. That's the point of it. It doesn't have a use.
it's always funny too, because this is one of the things that I used to criticize conservatives about, right? Like, I'm from Minnesota, which is a largely blue state, right? The outskirts of it, the suburbs and whatnot are pretty red, but the main, Minneapolis and St. Paul are very blue. And they focus a lot on, like, the parks are gorgeous. The museums are gorgeous. First Avenue, music is a high focus there. Prince, Bob Dylan, so many musicians have come from there. And they don't know how to run. I mean, the city is a disaster zone now because of riots and all these things. But my God, do they know how to make the city look beautiful in certain places and focus on these things. And I always thought that conservatives dismissed the importance that art plays in our culture. Right? No, it does not serve a utilitarian purpose. It's not supposed to. It exists on the back of a polite society that's being governed properly.
And I would say the same thing for education, and you'll disagree with me about this because of things you said in the past, but education similarly is not and never has been a utilitarian institution.
In what way?
It's never been primarily focused on college and job readiness.
No,
it has always
no,
been about the formation of the whole person and literacy has never been about knowing nouns and verbs. It's been about being able to actually know the meanings of words.
And now it's not.
Like education and art and pop culture, like movies, all of these things have these purposes assigned to them. We're told that, like, if there's a remake of Snow White, it needs to serve this utilitarian purpose that makes women more ready for the workforce. Like, what dystopian world are we living in that a princess fable needs to make women more ready
so they can pay taxes.
To pick a major and graduate and work in a corporate office?
So they can pay off debt and pay taxes.
What happened?
I will say that it's not that I necessarily disagree with you on that. I think my point was always that I thought that there's a fundamental need for people to have the right to do so, to seek out an education. I do believe that they've long since moved past the idea of making you a fully formed person. There's no civics. You can't take home ec anymore. What if you wanted to take home ec? What if you wanted to learn how to cook in school and stuff like that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and you're right on the college front, because I do believe that I believe that generals are a grift. I do. I believe that college should be about going into your field and figuring out what the hell your major is going to be, getting done with school as quickly and as cheaply as possible to prevent you from going into more debt so that you can start making money. And I think that colleges, because of the way they're funded with state, with the federal, the way federal finance rules allow for those loans to be done, I believe that allows them to overcharge everyone and make you take classes that you don't need. That type of help from the government ruins it for the regular person, because now anyone can go to college, but they can charge whatever the hell they want.
There's a lot to get into that goes beyond the purview of this show. But I guess I just wanted to say that because I was thinking about it after we talked about Snow White, how it's just this presupposed assumption that a movie should serve a purpose, a painting should serve a purpose, it should be useful to society in some way, and it's not. It's supposed to be beautiful, and it's supposed to be an extra benefit of being human that we have these luxuries.
And it's an ode to narcissism, because they don't know what the hell anyone who's there that day is doing with their money, their time, when they're not there. Those people could be donating to climate change reform for all they know. But they don't care about that. They care about being narcissistic centers of attention that seem to be doing something for the cause, while also being scared out of their mind by an evil mainstream media apparatus that has turned doomerism into profit. So it's like we're a little bit outside our purview here today, but I think that is a beautiful womp womp womp.
I think it is.
That is the womp womp womp.
By the way, that they did this for the purpose of filming for a documentary called Finite, the Climate of Change. They shouted him out in their Instagram caption. The filmmaker is named Rich Felgate.
I'm sorry, but they just look exactly like if I bet, Tim likes to do this stuff with AI. Like, if we asked an AI program to draw a climate activist, this is exactly what it would draw.
Yeah. You guys should put that into DALL-E and let us know what you found.
Let's go to Super Chats.
Tacti Platty said, have me and Bad App on with Dane for meme review.
We do still have to do...
Dane has insisted that the first meme review includes him.
So
once he is back in good health, that is guaranteed to happen.
Yep.
Waffle Sensei said, what? The Nazgul are supposed to be the old kings of Middle-earth corrupted by their 9 rings from Sauron. WTF is this?
It's a show that doesn't care about the source material.
It's weird that they didn't show the forging of the other...
Nope.
Or there are like 17 other rings. They only show the 3. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, if the goal of Rings of Power was to bring in new fans, they wouldn't crap on Tolkien for lack of diversity, because anyone who cares about representation or diversity isn't going to want anything to do with the works if they're not diverse.
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's fair to point out that you can care about diversity and inclusion and understand that it doesn't actually make sense in everything that gets made. There is such like this is why the West is suffering in a lot of these ways, because if they're making movies in China, it's homogenous. They don't have to focus on that stuff. But here, you're not allowed to just make a movie that represents one area. A good example that to counter my own argument is The Northman was fairly.
Yeah, I think that was all white people.
But in general, like you're not. It has to be part of the discussion when. Not every movie needs to have that discussion. Is it something
especially
we need?
given that there are films for the Lord of the Rings franchise already, which show racially homogenous societies, and the prequel then sets up the assumption that something happened in the meantime that changed that racial makeup. It's weird.
What's going to happen?
It's weird to insert that. DC said meme review. It's coming. Trust us.
It is coming.
It's on the way.
So not Monday, but when Dane comes back.
Hobbit said, oh no, I already read Hobbit's chat. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, don't watch season 2 on my account. I would rather y'all preserve your sanity than subject yourselves to that.
See, but don't
There's
you
gonna
love
be less
watching
hype for season 2 anyway.
Yeah, like who knows? Maybe something better will come out in the meantime.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh, like I said, I do want to review a show called The Tulsa King. I recommend everyone go watch that trailer. It comes out on November 13th. I'm still waiting to find out if it's episodes week to week. That would be the best possible outcome. Otherwise, if it's
a 3-episode premiere.
Yeah, but the worst is if they just drop all the episodes at once. Then, so what will happen is like the review. You're never going to get early reviews here because there's no way any studio exec in their right mind would let us review their stuff early. Because we're pretty.
Look at these guys; they're belligerent.
Yeah, exactly. but I do want to review it. So maybe if they drop all the episodes at once, we'll give it a week and then review it the following that like a week from when it comes out.
All right, we'll see. High Voltage 75 says, so Saturday show to make up for Monday's absence. Brett, your TMNT video game?
Favorite TMNT video game?
Favorite.
No show tomorrow, guys. I think Mary is busy. I, on the other hand, no.
I'm going to be out of town anyway.
But for me, Hyperstone Heist, but I didn't play all of. I mean, I played the early versions of the games. I didn't play any of that. If there's modern versions of TMNT games, I don't play them because I only play old school games.
Waffle Sensei said Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings based on the World War of his time. Perhaps we need World War III so that seasons 2 to 4 get canceled and we get some good writing to come out.
Well, they say a lot of the best art comes out of conflict and comes out of struggle. So maybe that would make us extreme ghouls for saying that that's what we need. So maybe we shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
But it does believe there's an argument to be made that we live in such spoiled times. As much as people, Gen Z and everyone wants to make it believe that the world is awful. And yes, we're not going to own, a lot of us aren't going to own homes in our lifetime, but nobody of our generation in Western society is going to go hungry in America. If you're poor, you can get an EBT card. If you're you're not suffering in the same way. Like I don't remember who the comedian was who said like only in America will you find fat homeless people. It's the only place that happens. So
Captain Vrag said, I think the world forgot how to write a good tale. The world forgot how to live together. The rest of us forgot how to stand up for ourselves.
I would say that I bet you those good tales are still being written, but because of the way that Hollywood has gone and the stories they choose to promote, they're just not considered valuable by Hollywood right now. Mm-hmm. Or even, I guess, publishing. I mean, in a lot of ways, a lot of those books probably have a harder time getting published now.
A lot of people forgot how to appreciate a good story. Yep. Nathan Koss said, the museum protest was also immediately overshadowed by a woman from the same movement spraying paint at Scotland Yard.
Yeah. I mean, I almost think the other one was funnier today. The one about the influencer who bought the $100,000 couch by accident. Anybody see that? What's her name? Quinn Blackwell. She bought a $100,000 couch by accident, and if she's faking it, she was
posting a bunch of videos like crying her eyes out, but like she's cried on the internet before. I wouldn't take it too seriously.
If she was faking it, she's a good fake crier. They should hire her.
Jeremiah Thomas said, can you do a section called Things We Like?
We could do that. I mean, for mine, it would be. I'd be like, do you want to hear about old stuff? Because
Yeah, there wouldn't be anything new.
There's
there.
tons of stuff I like, but it's all old stuff. I watched season 1 of The Unit recently, the show with Max Martini and all the dudes from that show. It's like from 2009. It was based on a book called like Inside Delta Force. It went for like 3 seasons, and it was actually a fantastic. Mm-hmm. The men are part of like a tier 1 operating team, and the show is half about them and their missions, and half about the wives at home who have their own conflicts and their own things going on, being the wives of of men in special forces units. And it's a really, really good show. Really, one of Scott Foley's better works when he was younger. So, like I can talk all day about old stuff that I like. It's just never going to be anything new.
Yeah, I watched Donnie Darko recently.
There you go.
Dark City.
Dark City.
It made me feel like I was watching Dead Poets Society.
I've never seen it. I've never seen Dead Poets Society. Love Robert Sean Leonard. I know Robert Sean Leonard's in it, but I've never seen it.
It was good.
Maybe I'll watch that this weekend.
Whenever I like something, I can't say anything about it except it was good.
It's good. Whereas I
don't have reasons.
But it's art. That's why. It's art. You just like it. You don't know why.
Yeah.
That's the best
but
part
also,
about it.
I guess Donnie Darko had the same suburban anxiety that American Beauty had, and that rubbed me the wrong way.
That's earlier than that, though.
It is. That
predates that.
Well, wait,
by a couple
did it?
Years. I believe that predates.
Because Donnie Darko came out in 2001.
No, but I'm saying Dead Poets Society predates.
Yes, it did.
But
yeah. I'm saying like they have like a similar vibe.
Of the time. It was a product of its time.
Mm-hmm. Bad App said Brett should take a trip to Universal Orlando and ride, what is that?
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious, and be disappointed, and then go to the Wizarding World and put his wand up for Hagrid.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe if I could convince Tim, it's a business expense.
Butterbeer. Try a butterbeer.
As somebody who loved the books, I refuse to do that. I do. I'm not doing that.
You wouldn't know that Brett loved the books based on his
books.
comments about Harry Potter now.
Well, it's because the fans are cringe. The fans are the cringiest of cringe. Though there were some pretty based responses to J.K. Rowling posting that comment. Where they're all just
you can't argue with that.
No, you can't.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, Brett, will you be reviewing Reacher Season 2?
Even if Mary does not want to, I will literally hijack this show to review Reacher Season 2. Though I do recommend you maybe watching it. You got like some time before it comes out, so you can watch it very slowly. And it's got a strong alpha male character that gets to be a strong alpha male competent person the whole show. Very good.
I'll look into it.
Malcolm Goodwin is really good as the cop. Willa, do you know who Willa Fitzgerald is?
No.
Not Willa Fitzgerald. Willa Fitzgerald. Willa Ford was the singer from the 80s. Willa Fitzgerald, I believe she was in the Scream TV show.
Okay.
She's your generation or maybe just a little bit older. She's in that show. She plays a cop, but she's not superhuman. She can actually get beat up by men. And then he actually gets to like be alpha male and like.
She's 31.
Is she now?
Yeah.
Okay. He gets to like be an alpha male and end up with the girl, and they have like a one night stand, and it's actually done in. It's like you just wouldn't see that anymore. The dude wouldn't be allowed to be like that because he'd have to be sexless and
harmless.
And harmless. Yeah.
Yeah. Potatoes for Seamus said, "We will own nothing and like it."
Not
me.
Here's like, I will own lots of stuff. I will buy more stuff than I need.
And I'll dislike it.
Long live the West.
Bad App said Donnie Darko is an emo girl essential.
Yeah, there's like a really great meme.
I'm not
about,
crazy about it though.
There's a great meme about like emo kids from the 90s, like, and it's like every time it's like when they watch these movies, they base their whole identity around it. It's either Donnie Darko, Requiem for a Dream, or
well, you didn't have things on social media to base your whole identity around back then, so you had to use movies. It's a little bit better.
A little bit.
Than being an otherkin.
Oh, guys, go watch before we move on, this would be a funny one to go check out. There's a video, I've referenced it several times, from a YouTuber named A Dose of Buckley, where he talks about otherkin, and the name of the video is You're Weird and That's Okay. It's really good.
I need to counter that with "You're weird and it's not okay."
Well, it was made at a different time. Like, I think that video that he made was like 5 years ago now. So
yeah,
the world had not quite.
It's gone too far.
He talks about like a guy who like thinks he's a werewolf and he's like transforming in the middle of his shift at a grocery store. Yeah, Mary, let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter. They're both at Mary Archived. Just those? Do you have any new articles up? I do. Yeah, I didn't want to promote it because, I don't know, I felt weird about it. It was about this journalist who got flamed on Reddit because he speculated that Keke Palmer was the one who filed a complaint against Bill Murray on the set of Being Mortal. Yeah. And then that rumor was debunked, and they were like, "You're racist for thinking that Keke Palmer was to blame." And there's also one more super chat there. Just hasn't gone off yet. There it is. Bad App said Eugenia Cooney bases her life off of Tim Burton. I mean, that's what it seems to be. Wait, who's Helena Bonham Carter married to? She married to Tim Burton? I don't know. I don't remember. Helena Bonham Carter's kind of the same way. She's she looks very goth, and she's like you're like 40 lady. So. Well, Eugenia Cooney is like notorious on YouTube. She's like severely eating disordered and shows like body checking videos and stuff, but she's obsessed with like Jack Skellington. And so people have like noted that she's obsessed with that movie. Yeah. Well, you know, people, if there was a movie that you based your life off of, what would it be? The Patriot. Frick, I don't know. There's no movie good enough. None? None. Yeah. Mighty Ducks for me then, because I'm from Minnesota and I played hockey. And sorry for bringing up the article, since you clearly were like, I wasn't going to talk about the article. I wasn't going to talk about it because I like struggled to write it without adding every bit of context. I don't know. All right, there's one more super chat there. Carnell said, although we enjoy the guests on PCC, don't feel pressured to always have one on. We should definitely have more Mary and Brett streams. Also, Brett recommends segment would be terrific. I could do that. Maybe like one thing a week to reference. Like I said, all the stuff that I like is just regular stuff from the mid 2000s. I am not the biggest movie guy. I was a TV show guy. Is your TV show list? Then my recommendation for this week would be to watch the Unit. It was 3 seasons. I believe it is on Hulu or Amazon Prime, and it can be melodramatic at times, but it calls back to a time we were still in the end of the rah Bush years. Leading into I believe it was like right after Obama got elected. That show came out, because it came out in like 2008. Okay. And there's still like, you could still be like a Democrat and pro-military and stuff, because we weren't focusing here. We were overseas and doing awful things. So, go America back then. I still want you to make a like top 100 movie list. A Brett Dasovic movie list. I don't think I could have one. I think it would be mostly TV shows. Okay, so. Top 50 movies. Well, anything. Perhaps. And there's one more super chat there. 1,000 Foot Deep End said Helena Bonham Carter was with Tim Burton. Not sure if they were married, but they broke up, I believe. Okay, so I was not crazy. I had that right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today on this smaller and much quieter, this casual Friday, this low-key episode. That was fun. I had a lot of fun. So, guys, Thank you so much. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic for the show. We are here Monday through Friday most of the time. Not Monday this week, but most of the time. Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are also available on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you would rather listen rather than watch. And if you don't want to follow us on social media, not our personal accounts, but also on for the channel, which is we're on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisispod. We will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then, guys. Later. Bye.